What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. And I want to thank Manscaped for sponsoring the show. If you go to manscaped.com/RBP, you can get anything you want. Use code RBP. You get 20% off plus free shipping. If I take you to the website, I'm going to show you what they got. They're the best in men's hygiene. They got all the tools, trimmers. The Lawnmower 5.0 is amazing, but my favorite thing is the beard trimmer, which is here. That has the adjustment on it already, so you're not going to lose any of your guards or anything like that, because that always happens to me. They also have some really good beard oils. If I can find them here, they got the lip balm, the foil blade, and all this stuff. But the beard conditioner, there it is. This is one of my favorite things they make. Also, guys, if you go to manscaped.com/RBP or use code RBP at checkout, you get 20% off plus free shipping. Support them, support the podcast, and thank you guys very much. Get the best in men's hygiene. I'm good. I like this new camera you got with the blurry background, and it's very, very focused on you.
It's completely unintentional.
I can see your tattoo very clearly now. I
forget it's there. Phoenix over there was grabbing it. I was like, what's this? I'm like, it's my throat. He said, no, this. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
I want to show you something. I'm getting done. I finally figured out what I want to get. And I'm getting my forearm done. You're probably going to make fun of it, but whatever. I don't care. You're going to make fun of whatever I get. So
yeah, wait. Stop before you show me.
Yeah, try it.
Is it a Harley tattoo? But instead, you've done the hostile H as the Harley.
It's exactly what it is. It's a Harley tattoo with a motorcycle behind it.
And then it says "Mom" underneath it.
Yeah, it says bad. It says bad to the born to be free. It says something like that. Yeah. No, you fucking asshole. You're gonna make fun of me for this even worse, but it's okay. So, okay, I'm just gonna show you whatever. This is,
even if I like it, you won't never know.
This is an
gay.
This is
gay.
Shut up for a second. This is an
women.
This is an artist. Oh, this is a guy here. This is an artist.
That's kind of a man.
Just shut up for a second. Okay, wait. I gotta let Stefan in. 1 second. I knew no matter what I showed you, it was gonna be gay. It doesn't matter.
For sure.
Call me Elon Musk. It's better, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's so much better. Now I can hear you totally clearly. Yeah.
I have no idea what must be a bug or something.
Yeah, it was it sounded like it was just picking up your computer audio, but now you're like sound awesome. Okay. So Stefan, you actually would be interested in this too, because you have tattoos everywhere, right?
Yes.
Let me just message James and make sure he's coming if he remembers, because at the time difference sometimes he forgets.
Why is it now 6 hours and in another time of the year 5 hours?
Because
for the daylight
they do daylight savings here still for no reason at all. I don't know.
Yeah, we have that also. We also have that.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Hey.
Surprise. Stefan's in the house.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't tell you something in the morning.
You didn't tell me.
All right. Before we get into any of the bullshit I was going to talk about, James, I just want to show it. James posted this morning for those of you who aren't on Instagram.
I've not seen it. Show me. Let me see.
Boom.
Yay.
Oh, hey.
There's a little baby in here.
Embryotic
somewhere
human
in there.
Creature thing with heartbeat and everything.
Look at you. You slid one past the fucking goalie.
Mate, super chop. That's what they call me. Actually, they call me chop master.
What happened to steroids being a contraceptive? Does it not work?
Dude, like everyone I know that's like pro bodybuilders during their career, it all gets people. So it's weird. I know, obviously, listen, very fortunate to be in this situation because a lot of people don't have that happen.
Here's the mama.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're live, I think, now.
No, we're not live. We're not.
I don't get the notification.
Oh, she wants to watch this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I decided to record them because I don't think people know to go to the live tab, and we're not getting as many views as we would if I just post the recording.
The recording today because live people they don't quite get onto it as often. So you can go now, love.
I just want to say hi.
Hi.
I'm going to book tickets to Vienna.
You've served your purpose.
Yeah, do that.
Leave.
So have you.
He
Thank
served her purpose. She hasn't served her purpose yet. She's got 9 months
Yeah,
to
no,
go.
there's a little bit longer. But yeah, I'll be honest. I wasn't like, oh, we're gonna have a kid. None of that shit. Wasn't like planned or nothing.
Yeah, but okay, it wasn't planned, but you were like trying,
Well,
and
I'll be real with you. Yannick will be honest. She has really irregular periods anyway.
Right.
Without getting into too deep, so the contraceptive pill was affecting her in quite negative ways.
Yeah.
So she discontinued it anyway, and I was like, "Well, I'm on gear. We're going to be fine. I've been bodybuilding since I was 17."
That doesn't mean anything, by the way.
Well, I know, and I just assumed. And then yeah, lo and behold, one morning she woke up and she was like vomiting, and I was like, I made a joke. I was like, "You're definitely up the duff." And
Oh,
then
no.
she laughed, and then a few days later she was like, "You need to come upstairs. I want to show you something." And I went, "You ain't fucking pregnant, are you?"
No
And
way.
she whipped out a fucking test, and I was like, "No way!" And I was like, "Do another one just to make sure." And then she did another one, and the same thing. So, and then I didn't obviously speak about it for a while because you got to give it up to a certain point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you kind of knew, even though like.
I don't know. Do you know what? I say this is weird. There was a
Wait,
period.
wait.
There was.
Wait, I just saw something. Why does it show that I'm not following you?
Because you don't.
You do this. You unfollow your friends.
No,
Yeah,
I swear to God, I didn't.
He's a bad
I
person.
swear to God, I didn't. Oh man, I
He's
Yeah,
swear.
just stalking. He's
Okay,
just
wait a
stalking.
second. Okay, wait a second. Time out. Time out. Please, just time out. I don't know if anybody else is
Blame yourself.
Just hold on a minute. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this on Instagram, but I swear to God, I'll go through my, like, you know, when like sometimes if like I put a picture up, I'll check who liked it or whatever,
Yeah.
and it'll be people I know, but it'll be unfollowed, and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
I have it happen the other way around sometimes. I've got people I'm following that I don't know.
That's happened to me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, James.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I understand. I understand.
Ben, you're such an asshole.
Wait, you're the fucker unfollowing.
I
your
didn't
friends.
unfollow him.
I'm the arsehole.
I've seen enough. He's like, I've seen enough of this guy's posts.
Okay. Anyways, so you kind of knew she was
well,
pregnant.
Well, I had like a really randy month.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. In September, I was like just horny as hell all the time.
Stefan, is that part of your protocol? Did you do something?
Always. We have the horny factor.
Yeah. and it was the first time in my life, yeah. Like I was doing the business, and I was like, "Get pregnant, you bastard!"
Really?
Yeah, like feeling a bit like manly, like a bit like.
You had it in your head. You're like, this is the one.
Yeah. Like after, but you know, like when you have wank after you're not interested.
Yeah.
It was kind of that. Like during, I was like, yeah, and then after, I was like, "Oh, that's a bad thought. Careful."
Careful what you wish for, eh?
I know, and then I feel like the symbiotic, like kind of relationship between the desire was so peak that I must have pushed out the fucking projectile, and it just hit the mark.
It's because it's what we talked about.
It's like we said about excitement.
The more excited you are, the more. I
was clearly very excited.
Intention is everything, right?
Right.
I feel like it is. So yeah.
Well, Stefan can tell us. He's got a medical background. If you're more excited, you're probably produce more sperm, correct?
I don't think so.
Well, ChatGPT says I'm right. So
Oh yeah, then it must be. But I got to another quite crazy theory. Imagine, because actually that happens very often to pro bodybuilders or good bodybuilders.
Yeah.
That the women get pregnant while being fully on gear.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often in average people.
Okay.
Maybe that brings or the idea comes up in my head that, you know, in one podcast we discussed about how can you tolerate steroids.
Right. I remember we talked about that. Yeah.
Maybe that could be a good proof for how good can you tolerate, and how bad are the side effects on steroids, how big can you get,
does that relate to it affecting your ability to get somebody pregnant?
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
fertility.
See, I've not to that depth, but I remember talking to Scott Stevenson about this, and he was saying that like genetically certain people are predisposed to handle and utilize steroids much better.
Right.
Their cholesterol is impacted way less, and he was suggesting a theory that they have a genetic component that cleaves the steroid away from the ester much more efficiently. So I don't know what that.
No, that's what, and that's what
through, right?
No, it does, and that's what me and Stefan were talking about when we did our one-on-one podcast. I asked him about hyper responders, and Stefan's answer was He didn't believe in hyper responders as much as hyper clearers.
Hyper-tolerators, right?
Hyper-tolerators.
Yeah,
Hyper-tolerators.
hyper tolerators. Sorry, hyper tolerators is a better way to put it. But yeah, so James, you're just clearing the drugs out and you're able to just fucking pound through it.
That's why I'm not big.
No, that is why you're big.
No, because I clear it.
No, because
There's another bro science.
Wait. Just for people at home don't understand what we're talking about. What we mean by hyper tolerators, like Stefan was saying, is you reduce your chances of side effects and you reduce your chances of it affecting you internally as far as your organs, your kidneys, your liver, and in James' case, his fertility.
Yeah.
So you can still just be a normal human being and be totally healthy, even though you're on a bunch of gear.
I got another theory. Your maximum contraction increases when you're on cycle, so you get that extra pump and it
pushes it further.
So it pushes it up further towards the egg.
Yeah, you got more.
It was a crusher.
Yeah, you got more velocity. You got more velocity.
That's it.
That and combine that with what position you do, it makes a massive deal.
Can you give us some insight on that? Like, what was the?
I'm just a one leg cocked up kind of guy.
One leg cocked up, really?
Well, you or her?
Her, me, imagine that.
Oh, I thought he was talking about.
I thought me.
Imagine.
No, James, I actually pictured it because I'm like,
that, you're a strange fella.
I was imagining.
No, I pictured it because I'm like, James got big fucking legs. How the fuck is he putting one leg up?
You'll be surprised.
He just wants to show the whole inside of his legs folded up from adductor to sartorius.
You got about 20 seconds before your hip flexor cramps doing that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now the main questions. Number one, are you fucking ready to be a dad?
Is anyone?
I don't know.
From what I understand, people just adjust.
Stefan and Ben can speak to this.
I think he is ready. You know, I know him as a person. I know him since several years. I know how he thinks, and I know how his views are on mankind and how his ethic morals are. So I think he is definitely ready, and that's the only thing which has to be ready.
Okay, but hold on, Stefan. I know. Okay. You speaking about him, I would say the same thing. But I'm saying, like, you as a person, when you were having your first child, did you feel ready to be a dad?
Me, yeah.
Yeah. So you knew, like, yeah. Ben, you
I always take the tasks I get and just deal with it.
Yeah.
So, but see, so knowing, I didn't know Stefan that well, but knowing how he is, and knowing James, I feel like James is more like me, where he's going to be like, whoa, this is a whole world of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And only after like, for me, it was like 2 or 3 years in where I was like, actually became a father.
Yeah. I feel like with me, it's like a combination of the two. It's like you said there, Ben, I know I'm a useless bastard. I can't even do DIY. But also I know that the way I am is that I have this real deep, I'm a very emotional person in regards to like, I have strong feelings towards things. So I know that I think that'll be in my favor to a sense that I'm going to feel very desirable towards protection of whatever I create. Sure. And I think that'll steer me, which I don't know how it will, but I know it will. So who knows?
There's something that eats away at me real quick. Sorry. Something that eats away at me. No matter what I do with my family during the day, I could spend the 100% of the time with them and be fully present. It will still never feel enough at the end of the day. And I feel like that might start to like, in your head, you'd be like,
for sure.
Stefan, Stefan, do you go through that or no? Do you feel like you've done enough, like when you spend quality time with them?
I did a lot of mistakes, especially when my daughter was born. I would say in the first 3-4 years, I wasn't able to connect with her.
Why?
Just on an emotional side, you know, I was stuck in work. Back then I was working in the hospital as a director of the hospital, working 100 hours, but different than now. I work the same or the same amount right now, but back then I had to sit in the office, you know.
Right.
I had to deal with the authorities about building the hospitals and all that fucking shit. So actually that's my working background, or
Right.
I never did anything else like work. And in the first I loved her from the first seconds of time, but it was really hard to build up connection to her.
Right.
Because, you know, maybe also because I'm autistic, I wait a response of the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very, very strange, but I never got, you know, it's a little baby. You don't get
Yeah, you don't get
response.
that.
Instead, shitting in the pants and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So
Yeah.
sometimes I sit in the airplane now. When I travel, I always have no phone, and that's actually the only time I don't work is when I travel.
Mm.
And I sit in the plane and start to cry
Really?
because I think back of all the moments I've lost or not, where I just haven't been there because I did useless other fucking stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
Do you feel
So yeah, that's the only thing I really regret. But that's also nothing you can be prepared of because it's something. How are you dealing with it, and how does it come from the inside? So that's why I think that James will be a 10 times better father than me at that period of time because I think he has that thing from the inside.
okay, but question aside from regrets, when you're spending time now and let's say you spend 3 hours with your kid and then you're busy the rest of the day, do you still feel like that's not enough, or do you feel like
No.
fulfilled that
No,
you spent time?
I really think it's good because actually I would spend the whole day with her because we have kind of the same interests, we have the same hobbies. She's working for me. She's doing all my bookwork, for example,
Okay.
since she is 13.
Right.
She's employed at the company, and so she's my left hand when it comes to she's overviewing my budget and all that stuff so that I really can focus just on coaching.
Right. Right.
And it's her who decides how much time she will spend with me.
Okay.
Because me, she could have 24 hours.
Right.
But
Right.
she most of the time decides to be in her own floor the whole day.
Right. But I think what Ben is getting at is Ben thinks, and Ben said this to me before, is like, and sorry to speak for you, Ben, but I was trying to emphasize this point. He's saying that no matter how much time he spends, he feels like it's not enough. And you don't feel that.
But I'll say this: it gets, for me anyway, it's getting better.
Okay.
So because I'm getting better at the time I'm spending with, because again, like Stefan was saying, like there's a lot of like parallels here. Like where Phoenix is now just turned 4, I'm connecting. Like I've loved him from day one, like without
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Of course.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now there's a relationship in the like, because the mum and the child it's there, right? And
That
then
first
you're
portion
just
must
like,
be very
yeah, for like 18 months, you're like, oh, like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
What
Right.
can I do? What, I'll make you dinner and fuck it, whatever.
Right.
yeah.
And then I'm like, my phone's always, my watch is going off all the time. So if I'm in his room and my watch is going off, I'm half checking it and this and that. Now my watch, if I'm with him, I take my watch off, my phone's fuck off. Like I'm with him.
So you're more
So
present.
now,
Yeah.
if I only get 3 hours with him or 2 hours, whatever it might be, I'm actually with him. Like I'll take him into the gym with me, but I actually will stop and engage with him. So that the time I am spending with him is real time versus what I was doing maybe last year or the year before. I was spending time with him in his presence, but I wasn't with him. I wasn't engaging actually like.
So it sounds to me, I'll put my hand up even though no one can hear
You don't
that.
have to raise your hand. Go ahead.
So it sounds to me that raising children, the longer they're around you for and the more they develop, the better it gets. In a sense, for the fathers, because obviously the way Stefan's speaking and the relationship he has now with his daughter, and Ben's saying it's getting easier. Obviously, he's earlier in the process than Stefan is, but it definitely sounds like the more they develop their own personality and character, the more you enjoy them, and that sounds awesome. And that's probably what you got to look forward to, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a moment that is for some reason really clear in my mind. We were on the bus going to the Arnold Classic in 2012 or 11, I can't remember, and I was sitting with Branch, and he had just had his first baby, and I asked him, I said, how's everything going? And he goes, oh, man, he's like, I love her to death, but I have nothing to do with her. I'm like, I just like, he's like, Trish is like feeding her and taking care of her, and they have this emotional connection. And he's like, I don't know what to fucking do. I'm just there. And obviously, he said I talked to him about it years later, and he was like, "Yeah, it's different now. Now she can
Yeah,
talk,
very.
and we have a relationship, and we have a." So, I think what everybody is saying and what you just said, James, is obviously makes sense because everybody I've spoken to, I think Evan said the same thing to me a while back. So, I think everybody I've spoken to says the same thing. Paul was the same way too. It's like the first year or two until there's any interaction. I don't know any dads that I've spoken to that really have a connection.
There's a very maternal thing in the beginning, isn't it? And that's like the mother's part really in the beginning is to get past that initial period, it feels like.
But it could also be really evolutionary thing. If you think about, okay, the wife is if giving birth, and the man has to focus on hunting, bringing the things back, getting that things going on. So maybe it's a little bit of that ancient habits, which is in our mind. But nevertheless, for sure, even without having that bullshit, I don't care attitude, I think that's just something I could say. Use like Ben is having it right now much earlier than I had it. Use every moment of quality time possible because you never know how life is going.
Sure.
Yeah. So James, and I don't want to get too deep on you, but I'm just wondering how this works sometimes because I had a normal childhood with two parents that were married and married till death.
Yeah, sure.
And I know you didn't have a relationship with your father. So how does that come into your mind at all now?
It's a weird one. A lot of emotions because I haven't spoke about it. So like even now, but it's good. I'm happy to speak about it. I kind of get a little bit flooded with like a feeling of like, it's quite an oxymoron, isn't it? It's kind of like you can learn from your experiences and you can do two things. You go one way or the other. And it's like, I know in my mind, because of the way I am as a person, you do what's best. And I would never put on somebody something just because I had it and I would want to be, you get those types of people that if they get treated bad, they treat others bad.
Yeah. And
it happens.
They almost rest on that.
Yeah. And I see that a lot and I just don't believe in that. And I think if you're going to make change, be that change from this point forward, my family can have good things happen. If I raise a child, then my child can do the same, and then none of them have to experience that. So all I can do is work with what I think's best, and I know that what's best is having a parent there. Because, listen, there's a lot of times in life I'm confused because I didn't have a male figure to tell me what to do. Still now, there's some things in life I've really struggled to decide upon. I still don't know how to approach certain things, and it'll be interesting for me to learn delivering that to a child. And it'll benefit me learning to do that as much as it'll benefit the child. So there's a win-win really because I've got to now figure it out. And hopefully then that will obviously give my child the best possible future and chances they have.
It made me fill in some gaps that I had very quickly.
Well, Ben, and I know, for people who don't follow the podcast regularly, I know you obviously have a father that you have a relationship with, but it's also been some tumultuous at times, I guess I could say, right?
Oh, my dad watches this, so it's like he's a nightmare. But
I didn't say anything bad, so don't pick me up.
No, I'll say all bad. He's a fucking dick, but I love him. He has a temper on him, and I grew up with some things where I'm like, okay, I learned a lot about him in terms of like discipline, in a productive way, and how to achieve things. But he had a temper on him and very aggressive. So some of my emotional response can be quite angry. It's there for me very easy. I'll get like worked up and things turn to like physical solutions much quicker than they need to.
I think that's what James is talking about. You kind of like when James is talking about you can choose to follow the way you grew up or choose to change it. Sometimes it's not as easy a choice as you think. Sometimes you just do it because that's all you know.
Well, mine's in the absence of something, so it's probably easier for me to avoid because learning from the absence of something is easier than learning in the presence of something.
I know, but
he's experienced that, and that rubs off on you.
I guess what I'm saying, I guess, is your situation is so extreme that it's like, okay, I can follow and not be there, or I can be there. It's such a black and white
Yeah,
decision.
for sure.
Whereas with Ben's, it's kind of hazy because it's like, I, I don't necessarily want to raise the same way, but it's in me.
There's two things. There's another part to it as well. There's good and bad within it. There's qualities that I admire immensely within my dad that I want to keep hold of and
Right.
pass those on and carry them on. And then there's stuff I want to remove and be like, okay, I can do this better. So I'm trying to become an evolution of that, right?
Right, right,
For
right,
my son.
right.
Right. But in doing so, it makes me a better person. So because beforehand, I'd be like, I just get away with being an asshole because
Yeah.
no one's looking at me as a role model per se,
Right.
day in, day out in my own house. Right.
Right, right.
Now, because everyone can act accordingly in social environment, to the public and to people they respect because it's a short period of time. When you go behind closed doors and then you relax, and sometimes if you're not really,
That's when the bad qualities that you have come out when you're relaxed.
yeah, the bad habits
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever else you have in there that you're too lazy sometimes to fix because you don't have anyone holding you accountable for. Now you've got this little person that's watching from as soon as they come out, they're observing. They might not be able to engage and talk and give you, but they are fucking seeing everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And their brain is a sponge. They're just like picking up everything. There are little things that I do. I'm like, where the fuck did you learn that from? Like it's me. It's like I see little, like he walks around, like I do this thing on the doorframe where I'll crack my back, right? Where I'm just like, I gotta be like Daddy. He takes his shirt off and cracks his back on the fucking doorframe. I'm like, God, these tiny little things that they copy, and so then you have to be careful with what you're showing them.
Even the things you don't see, though, like I have some traits about me that are like my dad, even though he wasn't around. And one of them that's terrible is that when I sometimes face confrontation and stuff, I just exit. So I'm quite bad. I could just easily you know what, I don't want to deal with it. I'll just go that way. And then I leave things unfinished. And that's a bad trait that I have. And that's because I kind of picked up that from when things were difficult for him. His option was, okay, I'll just fuck off.
Yeah.
So and I hate that about me because I do that a lot. There's a lot of situations where I could just deal with it in the moment, and I don't, because there's a part of me that just doesn't approach things in that way. And that's something that I definitely need to work on if I'm going to be a good dad.
All right. Hey, Stefan,
Sorry,
what was your upbringing? Your parents were together, not together?
Very classical Catholic family.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, with being an autistic child in the 1980s, coming from the countryside where nobody ever will understand you or question why you are that way and why you are not normal, it can be quite difficult. I love my parents, and I'm really thankful that they are my parents, but it was not easy.
No, eh? So do you have a good relationship with both parents?
I have quite now. I always had a quite complicated relationship with my father.
Yeah.
With my mother, not. It was quite crazy. I was born dead, so there is a quite close relationship to her.
Wait.
And for example,
You were ill.
What did you say? You were born dead?
My mother lost the placenta 40 minutes before me.
So you were a stillbirth?
No oxygen, no nothing. No, it was a medical miracle.
And
why I still was alive. I just had not actually dead. I just had the heartbeat, nothing else. There is in Europe we have the absess score, which is 9 points of if the child is healthy or not.
Right.
I had 1 point. No breath,
just
no nothing. Just the heart was still beating after 40 minutes without energy.
What the fuck? So did you just come back, or did they revive you, or like how does that work?
Yeah, my mother nearly died because she lost so much blood.
Wow.
Because she lost it was the Sunday before Easter, and she lost the placenta at home. And as we are on the countryside, it took 40 minutes to get into the hospital.
Right.
So she had C-section and gave birth to me. And actually, they said that child is not going to survive. And if you take a look at the medical exams back then, there are a lot of holes in it. I don't know everything because back then it was quite strange that I turned out to be normal. But my mother had a very close relationship to me. So I would say even too close.
Right.
Because I just needed to do that. And I just got everything I wanted.
Yeah, she's she's going to be overprotective considering how you were.
Yes. And there's a very freaky story because it's bodybuilding related. I need to tell you, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I had an abscess because of a wrong-going injection.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, nobody in my family ever knew that. Then when I did bodybuilding, my father wasn't talking to me anymore because I quitted medical studies. I was going to be a doctor. Then I said, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to be bodybuilder. So quite a weird shit.
I would stop talking to you too. I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong
with you? And I even wasn't good in it. So a complete idiot story. but I had to go because I had that abscess, and like always, I was quite freaky, and I got temperature in Celsius of 41.5 degrees, so nearly to being on the other side. And I even went with the public transport to the hospital because a friend, which was a doctor, said they need to cut me off immediately because otherwise I will have organ failure and all that fucking stuff.
Yeah.
So they cut me off there and removed that, and everything was fine then. But nobody knew it except my wife.
Okay.
And on that day, my mother called my wife and told she had a dream.
No way.
And in her dream, I had bulbs everywhere.
Bulbs, like light bulbs.
Yeah, because the swelling on my glutes. I had 700 ml of pus in it.
Wow.
Jeez. Holy shit, Stefan. That's like
700, did you say?
That's three.
700.
That's what, three syringes?
A pint. It's like over a pint.
500 is like a fucking jug.
700.
Oh, that's like
He's like that.
700.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
shit.
like,
So
That's only about.
yes,
that's 500.
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
A little bit more than that. So I had a third S cheek.
Wait. I gotta ask you something.
Yeah.
Before they cut it out, did you ever try and drain it by yourself?
For sure.
You did, didn't you?
I've drained stuff.
So how much did you? So there's 700 when they cut it out, but you must.
Yeah. Now the half part of my gluteus medius is missing on the right side.
Yeah, so. I know, but what I'm saying is, you probably drained like a few hundred milliliters before you even got there.
It didn't work out well, and because the temperature was then that high, I quite fast went then to the doctor.
Okay, but this is a teaching moment for a second for anybody watching who is ever going to
go to the doctor. If something starts to hurt the third day after injection, please go to the doctor.
The other thing is this: if you think you're going to aspirate it yourself, it's not going to work, because when the infection happens, and I'm sure Stefan could speak to this because he's actually got a medical background, but I know this from my own personal experience. When the infection happens, it's going to keep creating more pus. So even if you aspirate it, if the infection is not taken care of, it's just going to refill with more pus, and you're going to keep having to aspirate again and again and again until you actually go to the doctor and get fucking antibiotics.
And there's a risk, right, that when you're aspirating, that
the risk of a sepsis is much. The risk of the sepsis is much bigger.
Yeah, because you're going to leach it out of that capsule.
Yes, and that was actually the problem. Why I got that fucking high temperature.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about it is she dreamed about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She didn't know the correlation that could be an abscess, but she dreamed about having.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a random dream to have, isn't it? Without some sort of
I wonder, and I don't know if I'm going too far with this, but I wonder if we should explain how you get that abscess, just so people watching are like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
Actually,
because some people probably have no idea what we're talking about.
As I studied medicine, one of the first thing it's in the second part of the study. You have one of the, how is it called in English?
Chapters?
One of the chapters you have is hygiene.
Yeah.
Hygiene. How is it in English?
Hygiene.
Hygiene.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's totally funny because a room of students are running around with syringes and trying to do different kinds of injections on each other with NaCl solutions.
Yeah.
And back then, the main topic is how do you have to work to not get an infection?
Right.
But actually, like most of my professors, that one was also a quite cool and realistic one. And he said, no matter how clean you work, 1 of every 1,000 injections will go wrong.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm due.
And that's something out there, people, and now comes a little bit of the Stefan education process.
Yeah.
Now a little advice to everything out there. If you don't have to inject, don't do it, because the risk will increase,
Yeah, sure.
It's cool to have a high injection frequency sometimes because blood levels, but you will get scar tissue, the chance of infection is higher. It's cool to have L-carnitine injections, but the risk you go for the daily injections instead of the results you get from it, correlated. You're still injecting something into the body. You're giving a hole into your body. You're giving bacteria the possibility to access your body. That's just something which is present and which you can't eliminate totally.
Right. I'm glad you brought this up, Stefan. I wanted to ask about this because, and James, we'll get back to your awesome news in a second. But this is
this is fun. This is bodybuilding.
I just want to touch on this because we talk about this a lot because the common practice now amongst gear users is micro dosing and multiple injections a week because you want to keep from getting those peaks and valleys with your gear, and it reduces side effects and all these other things. So there's some good advice and things to back up why people do it. But I also wondered to myself, because I was never able to do it. I'm like, the most I could do is like every other day. I could never, like, the everyday thing just kind of was too much for me. Even every other day was too much for me. But where do you stand on that? Like, seeing that there is some benefit to microdosing and daily injections, is it worth it, or would you advise people to go, like you said, as little as possible?
I see it that way. In prep, where I really want to eliminate water storage of blood level fluctuations, having everything fine, I really like to go to the highest frequency possible, even to daily. But in the off season, I just don't see it as necessary. And there the cycle will close itself. If you have that immense side effects of blood level fluctuations, you are probably not a hyper-tolerator and won't come far in that sport.
That's pretty black and white. You're like, hey, if you're getting side effects, you suck.
Yeah,
yeah, it was now a little bit extreme, but actually it goes into that direction. If you are a racing driver, and you want to drive a corner and you can't drive the corner, you're driving to the wall, you are dead.
You suck.
It's done.
It's part of the unseen limitation, right, of our genetics within bodybuilding.
I get it. It's so interesting. Like, I wish I was autistic so I could just say things like that and people.
It's refreshing to hear it just so obvious.
No, because he's got the autism thing to fall back on. So he's like, if he says something mean, if he says something mean, he could be like, I'm autistic. It doesn't count. You have to.
No, it's not like that.
Yes,
I really think like that.
No, but what's really interesting is the contrast or the comparison you made with the race car driving thing. It's so interesting that in bodybuilding, we're not able to do that. Like, you're right. If you're a race car driver and you're too fucking scared to take that corner the way the other guys are, that's it. You're not going to be a fucking race car driver.
This is true.
But we don't have that black and white decision-making in bodybuilding. We always find a new way. Well,
that's one of the things, and I need just to point it out. Sorry to interrupt and coming back from the topic, and the second thing is what's kind of that bodybuilding science industry, which is quite popular right now.
Right.
Bodybuilding science is just always one view.
In what way? What do you mean?
For example, let's go to the microdosing. Yeah, you have more stable blood levels with microdosing.
Right.
You're not talking about the scar tissue. You're not talking about the irritation of the tissue. You're not talking about the possible infections. You're just seeing it from one side. If we talk about metformin, they just see, okay, maybe you will have a better insulin sensitivity. You don't see that the digestion gets way
issues.
slower. You will have digestive issues. You will have one medication more, which has the possibility risk to have interactions with the other medications you do. Our medication in the human body is broke down with the enzymatic system. So everything you take has an interaction with something else you take, and that's based in your genetic, how you do it. So with everything you add, you have the risk of a more negative outcome in the other hand. So bodybuilders just go there and see one thing. Let's go to the race driver. It's just, we say, okay, you need to go the corner faster. And you eliminate the thinking that if you go it too fast, you will fall out. Everything has a consequence.
But I think that's, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what Ben and James also, I don't know what you think, but to me, I feel like the science community grabs the lowest hanging fruit for their answers. And I don't think enough of them have enough of a background to understand the other connections.
Exactly.
Go ahead, James. Sorry.
The issue I find typically is that it's not everybody, but typically experience takes time, and a lot of time there is lack of experience, but knowledge is still pressed on you from people that haven't actually spent 15 years in the industry. It's different when it comes from someone who's been in the industry for 15, 20 years. I can take that. But if someone's only been in the industry for 2 years and then they're taking everything they know from literature only, there is no example of, because long-term studies are only ones that are done by us who actually go through it. That's my issue.
Well, and this is why I always liked working with John, because John had done a lot of reading and written books and knew all the studies, but he also could apply his own 25, 30 years of bodybuilding plus thousands of clients that he worked with.
Same with Stefan, same thing, isn't it? And this is what he's saying. It's like it shouldn't be just one thing, should it?
I just want to add one more thing to that. If you are interested in one thing, and if you read a lot of things, you read everything in towards the direction you want to hear. Or you want to see. If you are study something on a university, you learn all the bullshit you don't want to know. But you need that bullshit to understand the whole picture.
And
that's the fucking thing.
What's that called? Confirmation bias. So when you're looking for
bodybuilding is just confirmation. Bodybuilding is 97% confirmation bias.
Right. Well, not for guys like us who've been doing it for 20 years, because for us,
we trap
we still have
we trap in the mistake sometimes.
You're 100% right. Sometimes I'll eat fucking cream of rice and I'll be like, oh, I feel better because of the cream of rice. So it could be like 10 other things. I get it. So the confirmation bias is still there. But I think after you put in a decade or 2 decades of work, you're able to look back with a little bit more of an open mind.
Sure.
Right? Sure. In the first 5 years, when you're first starting out, you think you know everything. You're like, it is all confirmation bias. But I think it's like that bell curve. I forget what that bell curve is called, where you think you know everything, and then after you've done something long enough, you realize you know nothing. You know nothing, and then you slowly come back to actually knowing everything. I think that's what it is after a decade, 2 decades, you can look back with an open mind and go, oh, I don't really know much, and you're able to formulate a real opinion about what works and what doesn't.
I notice that now, with more of my stuff, if I look back at, say, if I go to my spreadsheets and my notes, how complicated I made things, to where it's actually come back to being very simple and very and there's not much overthought going on.
Stefan, did you do that too as a coach? Ben's talked to me about that many times. Was there a period of time in your coaching where you overcomplicated things?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the background I have, in the beginning, I really tried to reinvent the fucking wheel, and it's just complete nonsense. It's just complete nonsense.
I've been saying that for years.
Bodybuilding is such a beautiful, very, very easy things where it just lays down to consistency and having simple things you can really give a feedback on and
Right.
things which are objective, small things, then you have to change and just a little room for different things that you can have a good picture. When you overcomplicate everything, you are doomed. And modern bodybuilding very often, even in competitive stage, shows that people are randomly in shape. One time they are, then they are not, then they are not, then they are, then they are not. It's because everything is done too fucking way complicated. But also I would say our community or the industry asks for that. Because you are the idiot coach when you don't do complicated things.
Right.
You know,
I know.
I'm over that now. I just say, okay, I don't give a fuck. I do things like I do, and if you don't like it, it's fine for me. But that's one of the main issues that people just don't understand.
Yeah.
That it's just consistency, genetic, and getting better in the things you do every day, which leads you to a champion.
It's funny you said that. I remember back in the day when I was coaching, I had a fellow competitor. He wasn't a pro yet. He was a top amateur, and I was a pro at the time. And he's like, what are you eating in the off season? Because there was an off season where I made a pretty big jump. So I wrote him. I'm like, all right, show my diet. Like I wrote him a diet, supplements included, whatever, not gear. It was literally like just the supplements you would take and the food. And I know he never spoke to me again. I didn't talk to him for like 10 more years. And I asked him about it. And he goes, well, you just gave me some fucking cookie cutter diet. I asked you for help. And I was like, that was my fucking diet, man. I'm like, it was that fucking simple. It was just that.
Stefan is right then to that point. There's this pressure, like, especially when I first started coaching, like people would send check-ins and I'm like, everything's good. I kind of feel obligated to make a change just because they're paying me for a service. Right. But there's nothing needing doing. Like, so you kind of get this like conflict of like, I have to add value. I have to give them something more.
No, and I'm over that right now because the value you have to give is your decision.
Right.
I used to help people.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, I used to help people and I stopped because I'm a very simple person in the approach. And I would have people that came to me said, yeah, but what about this? And they would throw, things at me, L-carnitine injectable, for example, or a peptide or this or that. And I would just be like, I can only speak from experience, but I managed to get some British titles and turn pro without the use of any of these things. So I'm only going to teach you within the parameters of what I know can get you there. And it's kind of like you said earlier, if you can't, we've said this so many times, but if you can't get there on some of those basic things, you ain't getting there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And people realize that after a while, because they'll spend 10 years taking everything under the sun and then they'll realize they're still nowhere. And they'll be like, oh, okay, well.
I tried.
Well, and I think that's what
for me.
I wish it was that simple though, because that's not what happens. I think sometimes that happens, but I think most of the time what happens is they'll blame it on genetics, which is somewhat true. And then other times they'll blame it on, well, I didn't take the amounts of gear that those guys are taking.
There's probably consistency and work ethic half the time.
Yeah. But Stefan will be able to speak to this more, and I think what I said earlier about hyper-tolerators, like a little goes much further in a genetic elite person. So it's funny because I know we've done this over and over again where we've spoken about dosages and then people are like, they're bullshit, they're lying. Because I'll look at amateurs and they're like running huge amounts of, and I'm like, man, I've got top pros that are on a fraction of that. And there's no way they can connect the two and actually see that there's a difference between what their body is taking and using. Because they're like, I train just as hard and I diet just as hard. Mate, you do, but your body just isn't the same.
Also, there's time.
The same platform.
And there is the time aspect.
But I'll answer it this way. I consider myself like a bro, right? Like whatever I know in bodybuilding is from my own experience. I don't read studies. I don't have a medical background, none of that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you said to me 5 years ago, well, that guy's just got elite genetics and he's not using 1,000 milligrams of test. He's using 500. I don't know if I believe you. But after doing a podcast for 5 years and talking to people like Stefan and talking to people like fucking Justin Harris and talking to people like Brad Schoenfeld and like listening to people like Derek from More Plates, More Dates and actually understanding the way your body utilizes the steroids, now I'm like, oh, they were fucking telling me the truth all along. I just didn't believe it because I didn't have enough of an understanding about how the body utilized the drugs. So it's not, I don't think it's that people don't believe us because they think we're all liars. I think they just don't know. They just don't understand that there's something.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't understand that there's something like called a hyper-tolerator or somebody that can even let's not even talk about drugs. Ben, you've said to me before training with Luke. You've said to me he would do a set of squats and he would be fucking, his legs would be fucking pumped and he'd be fucking like he just finished a workout. You would do a set of squats and you'd be ready for more. Like, so, and it's the same thing when we trained with Martin. Like, Martin did the same.
Well, his was the amount of muscle mass he had. The oxygen demand he had on that set was fucking way above us.
I know, but I'm just saying the amount of utilization some of these guys can get out of an exercise and a rep is
right,
more than.
But that's where you and I had the argument about skill, and I said that bodybuilding is a skill because their ability.
Don't push me.
Their ability to contract the muscle and connect with it
exceeds others.
Go ahead, Stefan. Before I argue with Ben, go ahead, Stefan.
Ben, you're brilliant. First thing I have to say.
See, clip that out, and we'll save it.
Just replay that part. Yeah,
because that's one of the biggest factor if you're gonna be good or not be good. I trained really with thousands of people.
Yeah.
The point is, and that's also something, when it comes to training plans, it must be complicated. It must be the exercise from around the corner, standing on the head, contracting it, blah, 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 all that fucking shit. And you need to change your training plan because you get used to it and all that fucking bro science shit. The point is, you will be good in something when you perfect a movement, and it's kind of a talent, genetic, or as what you did. You did a brilliant word.
Skill.
Yeah. A skill you have, how you are able to contract that fucking muscle. It has nothing to do with speed. It has nothing to do with range of motion. It's the skill how you can contract, and people won't understand it. And the bigger problem that they don't understand it, they don't want to learn it. You know, if they are shit in an exercise, or if they don't grow in an exercise, they don't do it, or blame the exercise, or want to change it, blame the split or whatever. Get the fucking skill. If you're a tennis player, you will probably practice that fucking forehand until eternity ends.
Okay, can I just
but in bodybuilding,
you're gonna have to get. Let's go stick up for himself now.
Okay, time out. Can I just go back for 1 second? Okay?
Let me breathe.
I never said that there was no skill in bodybuilding. What I said was the skill to be an Olympic gymnast is much greater than the skill to be a bodybuilder. That's all I said. The skill, the talent of being a bodybuilder is, to me, more entrenched in the discipline, being able to go through the monotony, being able to do the same thing day in, day out. And there's a genetic component.
No, it's the skill.
Listen to me.
How you can train.
I'm not
contract your fucking muscle.
Okay,
really,
so
that's the most underrated thing ever.
Okay, hold on a minute. So you're telling me the skill of contracting my bicep when I do a curl, is equal to the difficulty level of doing a triple backflip off a fucking horse in the Olympics.
Not the biceps, maybe not as a triple backflip, but the single backflip. The triple backflip, the triple backflip is a perfectly done squat or a perfectly done deadlift.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I can't agree with you. You know why?
I was able to do a fucking backflip with a snowboard, but I never was able to contract my biceps because I'm fucking retarded.
Okay, hold on. I'll tell you this. You could be 30 years old, and learn how to properly squat in a year if you really paid attention to it.
Yeah, but there's a
hold on. Don't interrupt.
There is a difference between doing it visible from the outside perfectly or really use the fucking fibers of the contraction.
I get it. But what I'm saying is you can't tell me that's equally as hard as learning how to do fucking gymnastics.
Some people never will learn doing it right. I swear to you. I swear to you.
What you just said is you get it because you are able to go, okay, I need to contract this harder and make it make sense to you. Okay, some people cannot do that.
Okay, but hold on. Let's take when we speak about something, you have to speak of the averages. You don't speak of the outliers. So let's say you took 100 fucking people over here and 100 people over here, and you try to teach these 100 to do gymnastics, and you try to teach these 100 how to fucking do a squat. How much success are you going to get on either side? And be honest, because I'm telling you, out of the 100 over here doing gymnastics, 5 are going to maybe get it. Maybe 5. Over here, you're going to get 50.
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10, but you're going to get 50 fucking guys.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but still
not a little bit more, a lot. Not a little bit more, a lot more.
But you're also missing the point that Stefan said.
I'm not missing the point.
No. Where he said, yeah, you can get everybody to go through that movement. Like, I'm very, very, very skilled at squatting. A lot of hang on, wait, hear me out. Please. I'm very skillful at squatting a lot of weight from here down to here and then back up again. What I'm not good at, which is what your point was, I'm not as skillful as Luke as taking that movement and that weight and directing it into those muscle fibers of my quads and targeting those. That becomes a much harder skill for me.
You're arguing a point we agree on. I already said there is skill in bodybuilding. What I'm telling you is there are varying degrees of skill. All skill is not created equal. A guy who gets on a fucking motorcycle and does a 300-foot jump with 4 backflips on the motorcycle and lands it perfectly, I'm sorry, takes a lot more skill than learning how to squat. That's why in the Olympics when they're doing figure skating,
the 700 backflip guy is the Mr. Olympia.
Hold on a minute.
We don't have so many Mr. Olympias.
It's not the same. So like in the Olympics, for example, if you're looking at figure skating, they judge them.
No. What we learn about that discussion is that Fouad is obsessed with backflips.
No, hold on a minute. I have one more point, and then we'll move on because I don't want to debate this forever. If you're looking at figure skating, right? They have varying degrees of difficulty in figure skating that they are judged on. That's because there are varying degrees of skill. Across sports in general, there are varying degrees of skill. Not all sports are created equal. One skill is not equal to another skill, right? That doesn't mean it's easy to be a bodybuilder. It doesn't mean it doesn't take a lot of work. It doesn't mean there's not a ton of discipline, consistency, fucking all of that shit. I'm talking strictly about skill. All skills are not created equal.
But take a look at the stages of the bodybuilding world. Let's take 2 muscles which are, if you don't have the skill in it, very hard to develop. Hamstrings and lats.
Okay. But
take a look on the pro stage. How many guys have lacking hamstrings or lacking lats?
Yeah, but I can tell you why.
Don't you think that they try?
Not like they try when it's quad day. I promise you that. And I've seen it numerous times in amateurs as they're coming up. Hamstring day, throw in an exercise. Maybe I'll throw into quad day. We're getting riled up for 2 days straight.
But even when now we go to a point. Even when it comes to hamstring, the lower body is different than the upper body. Sure. In upper body, we have push and we don't need the pull at the same time. So I showed it differently. Excuse me. We have the pull and you don't need the push at the same time.
Right.
When we have legs and when we need to stand up from the floor, we need both.
Okay.
Because we can't get up without extending the knee.
Yeah.
And we can't get up without the retroversion of the upper leg.
Right.
Which does the hamstring and the glutes.
Right.
So standing up, when you have shit hamstrings, the bigger problem is that the knee extension is the dominant movement in your standing up process. Okay. And the retroversion of the leg, which is glutes and hamstring, is the shit version. So you have to get back 700 steps to learn that movement new, which is a skill. To
didn't say it wasn't a skill.
In that movement, the hamstrings and the glutes more. There are people who can do that easily and fast, and there are some who never will challenge that.
You guys are still arguing a point that I'm not arguing. I already said it was a skill. I said not all skills are equal, and that seems like a very moderate stance to take. The fact that
Wait,
you guys,
but your
the fact
stance changed though from bodybuilding is not a skill, so it's not as hard of a skill as a triple backflip.
no. Hold on, Ben. The very first time we had this argument, you're right. I said it's not a skill. But very, very quickly after we started that debate, I agreed with you guys and said there is skill. But I still will hold true that not all skills are equal. And that seems like a very common sense stance to have.
Okay, we go away from gymnastics, which is most probably your addiction. we understand. We understand.
I love gymnastics.
But what about soccer? Compare bodybuilding with soccer.
Look, I'm not going to compare every sport. It's a very simple debate to have. Are all skills equal or not?
Yeah, they are not. You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're
okay,
right.
That's all I'm trying to say. You guys are arguing with me like as if it's all equal, and it can't be.
But going back to like what you said about quad day and like these guys are going harder on quads. Again, quads for a lot of people, not all people, are very easily accessible in terms of their engagement, their ability to recruit, right?
Yeah.
Most people can sit on a leg extension, they can see the quad, they can engage it. So then that starts to filter through to over the years, it gets very easy for them to feel and contract their quads.
I understand that.
So therefore their training sessions become better and better because it feels good to train it. It feels easy to train it.
Okay. I'm going to use myself as an example because I don't want to speak ill of anybody else.
For once.
And anybody and for once, yeah. And anybody who says the opposite, I'm fucking vehemently going to disagree with them because I know you guys are very similar to the way I am when it comes to bodybuilding. When quad day came around, the day before I started getting ready. And I wasn't getting ready because I'm like, oh, hamstrings is going to kill me. No, there's a different emphasis placed on certain body parts. If it was back day, like, oh, it's fucking back day. I got to fucking get ready. It's going to be a killer. When it was fucking arm day, I would just stroll in and fucking do arms. You can't tell me that guys don't have days of the week where they turn it up a bit.
Oh yeah, listen, 100%.
Yeah,
because for me, quad day was always like legs. Yeah.
But that's not the biggest problem. The bigger problem is more like that. I take first the back day out, and then I go back to the lower day. Let's call it lower day. With the back day, we have also the ego of the bodybuilder, which is the biggest problem. So let's go like I would say the majority of bodybuilders have. Good upper back with good teres, good rhomboids, good traps, good rear shoulders, fucking weak lats.
Yeah.
So they are gonna do forever and ever and ever and ever all their back exercises in a movement which emphasizes the upper back, but not the lats.
Right.
And that's the problem, their ego, that they are not willing to go 7 steps back and do the exercises in the method they would need it. And the same is for legs. When it comes to all the compound exercises, squatting, hack squat, leg press, whatever, they will still always have the dominant quad in the movement. They are never willing to get the steps back to emphasize the hamstrings the same way they emphasize the quads in their exercise. Because if they would go back, they would just benefit from it, and the fucking hands would grow.
But we're saying the same thing then. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Guys are emphasizing the shit they're good at and the shit they like. They're not emphasizing the things that are harder or they don't necessarily feel or they don't.
Yeah. When it comes to that, you're right.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what I mean, because I knew if I was going to go in for a fucking back day, I'm like, this is a thing I need. I knew if I looked at a T-bar row, I was like, man, I don't want to do T-bar rows. They suck. But then I would force myself to do them because I knew they sucked.
But
and most of the time, I bring in another dimension. And most of the time, they do the T-bar row then like that they still emphasize the upper back.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are doing it, but they do it for shit.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, right? If you say you have a basketball player who is really good at shooting from like a 2-point, but sucks at 3 points. Well, the champions will go out there and put the time in rebuilding that 3-point. Whereas the other guy's going out there, he just wants to enjoy his practice time. So he goes and shoots the thing he's good at because he enjoys it the most. And that's what, like, if I'm looking at my guys trying to bring them up, a lot of them that have good body parts, sometimes I just take away their strong body part altogether for 3 or 4 months. I'm like, you're not going to train legs because your legs are crazy. You're not going to train legs until you've brought the other body parts up.
But this conversation in total is what is the determining factor between the good bodybuilders and the ones that aren't so good. I know people very close to me that just won't accept what's just been said.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if they did, they would have had better careers and they would have made it
the thing is,
because they had to take 2 steps back in order to progress. But people don't.
no. Well, because number one, they don't want to do the exercises that hurt. Or
Well,
like
number two, also,
or like Stefan, they don't want to do the exercises they don't feel.
Or
Like I
like
can,
They are
boring.
weak.
also,
Or they are weak.
also, yes, most of the time, because the general population is quite, they're not very privy to bodybuilding. They see someone lift heavy and they assume that's what makes you a good bodybuilder. So your social media will blow up because you're strong.
right.
But what
right,
are you
right.
doing on the bodybuilding stage?
Yeah.
Probably fuck all.
Or are you
Well,
only
but then-
or are you only showing the exercises that you're strong at because you want your social media to blow up and you're not focusing on the ones you're not strong at because nobody will watch your shit if you post those.
Oh, of course, because when
You know what I mean?
my stuff gets far less interaction than it used to because I've chose to train
Right.
how I need to train in order to be a better bodybuilder.
Right, but that's leading these younger guys. They're like, "Oh, well, I know my 6-plate squat or whatever exercise."
Hey.
So,
Fuck
like
off.
Ben just posts squat videos all day long. That's
But it's
So
not
go on,
sexy.
man.
It's because
So
real bodybuilding isn't sexy.
no.
Like there's a certain level of this. You have to have the discipline to be able to rein it back and focus. And
I'm
some people
gonna-
just haven't got that in their mind.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm gonna separate that out to what James just said though, because there is bodybuilding over here, and then there's competitive bodybuilding.
Well, I think when we're talking about
There's a
bodybuilding,
bodybuilding lifestyle. Like if we go
Wait.
back to like,
but hold on a minute. I think when we're talking about bodybuilding in this conversation,
Competitive.
just so people know what we're talking about, we're talking about building a balanced physique.
yeah, but if we're talking about everyone that's watching this podcast,
No,
some
no,
guys are like, I
there's
never
different
want to
groups.
compete. I know I never want to compete. So
Right.
therefore, like if we're talking about like hyper-tolerators, there are some guys that are like, oh, well, I don't have the genetics to be an Olympian. That doesn't mean bodybuilding is closed to you now.
No, I understand that.
You know what I'm?
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just-
sure.
I'm
That's
just
why I said. That's why I said.
verbalizing that.
That's why I said if you're trying to do well on stage, you need to accept that there's certain things you have to do in order to be good on stage.
Yeah.
If I weren't competing, man, my training would look very different because it'd all be about what do I enjoy and what can I see my own progression in. But bodybuilding on a competitive level is not just that, as you all know.
There always has to be an
Like
argument.
backflips,
But every time I have
for gymnastics. We are
Look,
talking about the
look,
Olympians.
the reason I keep going back to gymnastics is because to me it seems like the hardest fucking sport there is. I can't.
Yeah, because you are a bloke.
You're a geezer.
No, seriously, think about it. If you had to rank, okay, let's play a game. If you had to rank, since we've already kind of all agreed,
I'm
think
going
we-
to supersede.
wait, I think we all kind of agreed that there are varying skills, right? Did we all
Yeah.
agree on that? I know Stefan did.
Oh,
Ben-
100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if we had to rank sports by skill, what would be at your top?
I feel like Formula
MMA.
One's right near the top.
Formula
Yeah,
One.
I think
Formula One's pretty hard.
Racing, but I say now something completely awkward. I don't know if you even know it in America, but
What?
I just don't get it how it works.
What?
It's so super complicated. Ski jumping.
Key jumping.
Doesn't seem that hard.
First, it's like, just go down
you
here
know,
and jump.
you need to find that point of
I know,
lifting that
I
fucking
know.
shit within 1 centimeter, and I would say
Timing.
1/100th of a time. It's just if you have that skill, I think.
Yeah,
or you don't.
I agree with you,
something
but
which is completely crazy.
the Formula One thing I didn't even think of. Those guys lose like 20 fucking pounds in a race.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
for sure.
constantly.
I'm gonna say high level MMA
Yeah, that's
because
another one.
because you're cutting weight the day before as well. So
Well,
you're
but now,
dieting,
but that's
training, and then someone's trying to fucking take your head off.
Wait a minute. Now you're talking about the work and the danger. I'm talking about just the talent.
Yeah,
but
skill.
you're
We are
walking,
a skill
you're walking,
discussion.
but you're walking in that cage. In most sports, you walk in at your prime, like peaked.
No. I know.
In
but-
MMA, you walk into the cage to perform your skill, slightly hurt from the day before.
I
You
know,
could
but
argue, though, that MMA isn't even as dangerous as Formula One.
but hold on a minute.
But especially in MMA, I think you can outwork others better
That's
than
what I'm-
in different
yeah.
sports.
That's what I'm trying to say, Ben. What you're talking about, Ben, is conflating talent and work ethic. I'm talking about strictly the talent. So what I mean by that is like
No,
learning jujitsu, not in a ring, not fighting, just the talent of learning jujitsu.
Okay, how hard is that? How hard is jiu-jitsu?
The skill level is very
Okay,
high.
that's why I said MMA and not one single discipline, because now you're going into a realm where you're going against an opponent that is well equipped in multiple different
I'm
aspects.
agreeing with you. All I'm saying is you have to take out the part of cutting
Okay,
weight.
so take that out.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
just
yeah.
walk in a cage with someone else that's been training their whole life and is trying to take your head off in any which way he can.
James,
any
what
discipline.
James, what do you think? Formula One or MMA?
I think MMA is right up there, but I do think Formula One requires probably the utmost, only because I know quite a lot of people that have worked with in Formula One. And a good friend of mine, James, I have really good conversations with him. And like the shit that he tells me about some of the drivers, like down to the finest details of how they perform and why they were the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
well,
there's a lot of shit.
Reaction times, endurance,
there's
like all of it.
See the training they do for their necks, even.
Yeah, dude, that car, you got to think as well. Every day they get in the car, every day they're in that thing. One mistake, they're dead.
Well, like, Stefan, you've raced, right? So you can speak.
Stefan loves racing.
Yeah.
No, the point is with racing, and I think I have a quite good story about that. I always was the worker guy. I never was talented, never skilled, but I was the worker. And when I come to the racetrack, I always came on Wednesday. Saturday and Sunday were the racings. And I did long distance kart racing. So you need a little bit, besides the skill, also the endurance and the power, which you can work for. But I always came to the track on Wednesday and started to train, and I always was one of the last in the races. And with my work ethic, I was able to get in the lower half, so a little bit better, but still. And in my team, I had a genetically gifted guy who always came on the racetrack on Friday. So he sat into the cart and drove, and I've used hours to learn how the track goes and everything. Yeah. And he got into the cart, never had been there, and setting the record on the circuit. And when you ask him, how do you do it? Yeah, I feel it. I just know where to brake. I just know where the apex is. I don't have to think about it. The only thing those guys then have to do is to get to the power, the endurance, and all that stuff for the race. But how you race or how you set it up and how you drive is pure skill.
Yeah, I see a lot of
it's a world I would love to have.
A lot of it's instinct, right?
I wish I grew up with like rich parents who pushed me into that.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to race, and my dad was like, "We're poor. Fuck off. Go do something."
You can't afford it. No.
I'm not rich, but I am building a racetrack out of the back.
Oh yeah! I can't wait. I'm going to be there all the time. Like
it'll be like Super Mario Kart. It'll be fucking Fouad Abiad, Bowser in the fucking little cart.
That's right. Yeah. I'm still gonna stick with gymnastics.
What about diving? Diving's quite fucking skillful.
I don't know. I think I'm just gonna stick with gymnastics to piss off Stefan. He seems very.
Yeah, and to be fair, though, gymnastics has multiple disciplines.
Well, I really want to see Fouad in that. Oh, that's a bad thing. I want to see Fouad in that spandex.
That's the next
gymnastic fucking stuff.
I mean, you two got to put a little wager on.
James, are you gonna have a boy or a girl?
I don't know.
What do you want?
A baby that's not troublesome.
You don't have a preference.
Not really, but my feelings is that it'll probably be a girl, just because everyone I know that does get people pregnant on cycle, often when they're on cycle before they're retired, they have girls. It's just really common.
Yeah.
Those are the cycle. I got a boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so Ben's like one of the only people that I know who's had a boy.
Little Michael the box also has a boy.
So Michael had a boy. So Evan had two girls. Branch's first was a girl.
Who's Michael who?
Michael the Box.
Michael the Box, small to 12 bodybuilder.
Maybe that's what it is, James. Maybe it's the size of the bodybuilder. Yeah.
If they're 212, they have boys. Ben was you 212 at the time.
maybe the more muscle you have depends on if it's a girl or a
boy.
I was
who knows?
280. I don't know how fat I was. I still have one.
Just fucking with
you. Part of me would, I don't know why, part of me does like the idea of a girl, but I'm not fussed.
You'd rather have a girl?
I wouldn't rather, but there's part of me that likes the idea of it because I think being a dad, for some reason, that's kind of appeals to me. I don't know why.
I can see that. It's more to worry about, but then it's also Yeah, I can see that.
I think it's for me to. I'll say two things. It's almost like a reincarnation of my mother. Sounds weird, but also like it's her life continuing into my child.
Right.
And also, I think it will help me understand them as a species more.
I don't think so.
These girls, I just don't understand
I
them.
don't think
So
it will,
if I
man.
ever,
Stefan is a
my
girl.
daughter,
Stefan,
if I
did
have a
that
daughter,
help,
she'll
to help
teach
you
me everything.
understand?
Stefan
Well,
knows.
I don't know, but
You know,
Go ahead.
when they get into the teenage age, it's just getting horrible, kind of, you know.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna say,
you are sitting on the table and look in the face, and the face is like, "What's wrong? Nothing. Can I help you with something? No. What are you gonna do today? Nothing."
I want.
It's
Do you reckon
crazy.
boys will be the same as that in the teenage years? Do you think that's just a teenage
No,
thing?
I think they are different.
no, boys are different. I think too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Listen,
they are
Ben will let us know in a few years when he's
Yeah.
reached his
Well,
teenage.
I got a 12-year-old or 13-year-old
Yeah, to be fair,
stepson,
yeah.
and
So he's the better.
he's
Listen,
controlling.
all I know is Paul. I talk to Paul every day about this, and he's got 2 daughters, and he understands them no better than when he had them.
So what?
So
Damn.
he's still lost. He's like, I got 3 women.
I
in
want to
my
crack
house.
that code.
You're not gonna crack the code, dude. There's no way. Okay. Oh, well, you obviously don't have any names picked out because you don't know the sex.
What's the female version of James?
Yeah. You know,
I don't
Is
think
there a female version of James?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. I'd like it to maybe have a Norwegian name because of Yannicka.
What's a Norwegian name? Can you give me an example?
I don't know.
Freya.
Yeah,
Freya would be cool.
Freya's
yeah.
nice.
Freya
Someone
is
said
super
that.
nice.
Stefan,
But whenever I throw names,
I have a problem with that. Donice's brother is a dog called Freya, so I'm like, that's the dog's name.
dog's name,
Can't
man.
deal.
That's dog's name, man. I don't know, but there's some interesting names in Norway, so I'll find out. We'll see.
all right.
I think it's a nice thing to pay homage to its like nationality.
Yeah.
You know what internet says? What the female version of James is?
What?
Jamesina.
That's a
Yeah, that's
That's
weird.
some bullshit.
Yeah. They just put an Ina on the end of it.
Yeah, just do that with everything.
Okay. I want to show you guys this before we go to more
Is your
bodybuilding.
shit tattooed?
No,
We get a shit tattoo, did you say?
I'm not showing. I'm not showing you anymore, Ben. Fuck you. What do we think of this?
Turn it around. Let me see.
In that pose, it's incredible, but it emphasizes its strengths completely. So I see even in that pose, he has incredible arms, but even when he opens it, I see 2 small shoulders for that arms. I see the gap in the chest, but the frame and the structure he has is just crazy insane, and the amount of muscle he carries is outstanding. But it's a front double, and we have 6 other poses we're gonna see, and the most muscular, which is also very impressive. But I want to see side chest, triceps, back double, and then we know more.
Well, we know the back is not going to match the front. I mean, even if he's brought it up, the front is like world class.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
front
like
double
his
is one
front-
of the best ever.
Yeah, his front's like a Derek Lunsford,
Yeah.
like up there with those guys.
Well, I think his front's, well, I don't want to say better than Derek's, but I think he has the reverse problem from Derek. Derek has a better back than he does front. And I think Carlos is better from the front than he is from the back. I think the side shots, he's going to be crazy too, because where's that other update that he posted? Fuck. I think from the side, he's going to be great too, because he's so fucking thick. So anytime you have a 24-inch arm and a 35-inch quad and a tiny little waist,
Hard not to look good.
yeah, those side shots are going to look nuts. The only problem is if the back doesn't have any thickness to it, that could hurt his side shots a little bit, because then you're kind of just going like this massive chest, massive delt, and then it just drops off at the back.
More for me, it more
No, I
depends
think
on
the
detail.
delt
It
is
more
the
depends on
delt.
detail.
The delt
Alright.
is a problem. The delt is a problem. The delt is way too small. And like,
You think the delta's too small?
yeah,
Compared to the arm.
what we see here, yes.
Let me see. I
And
don't
the most
wanna,
muscular.
when he got into the most muscular, I didn't think so.
Uh-huh. Take a look.
I'm gonna. Okay.
If you
Here,
compare
boom.
it to the quads and the arms, I mean,
I don't know.
it doesn't matter.
I don't feel like. I mean, his arms are obviously massive, but I don't
Boom.
feel like it's a small delt. I just feel like maybe it's not the same caliber as the arm, which I do agree with.
Or the quad or the chest.
Yeah, you know what? The more I look at it, you're right. The arms, the chest, and the quad are definitely overdeveloped compared to the delt. But we can't see it from the side, so I don't know. What's it look like from the side?
This was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but we'll get an idea at least. I mean, his arms are nuts, so it's like
He's definitely a freak.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
Also, his front relaxed is crazy good.
yeah. Well, his waist is so small, his quads are so big. He's got a really nice X frame.
Yeah.
His lats from the front look pretty good. I mean, that's a nice shot for him. I just don't know. Is he going to be the dark horse? Is he going to be the one that upsets the top three?
He is definitely a guy we need to watch out. But as James said, it's about the details and if he brings the quality, because he always missed in that point until now.
Well,
which,
the reason
which always could happen, you know. We saw it at the classic division. Where Mike Sommerfeld always was underrated because he never brought the condition he needed to bring on stage. And when he brought the condition, it was bang on and he was ready to battle for the win. And Carlos could be exactly the same.
Well, the reason I'm leaning that way is because of the work that Patrick did with Keon. So I'm kind of leaning towards if Patrick can do that same thing with Carlos.
Yeah, it depends a little bit. I think the most of progression with Keon was the mental aspect. That before he wasn't able to stick with everything like it should be, and Patrick found a way to get in his head that he responded. But I don't know if Carlos, what is Carlos' problem? Is Carlos' problem that he was more the lazy guy, or is the problem somewhere else?
So,
you know,
I know.
Issue, doesn't he?
I was working with Patrick back when he was working with Carlos for his national run, because Patrick prepped him for him to turn 10 pro at nationals up until a week out, and then Carlos. So he has had some issues there, which I don't know where he's at with that, but I know he was working a lot. Again, that's what he did when he pulled out in New York last year. He had a lot on with some health, but a lot of it was just like him. He was so busy working and this and that. So I think he's in a more stable position from what I understand now, which is exciting to see how that's going to.
Yeah, we have to add that his dad is one of the nicest people that we.
Completely.
Yeah,
completely.
This is totally my own guess, and I have no inside information on it. But I have a feeling it's not going to be a conditioning thing that doesn't put him in the top placings. It's going to be, if anything holds him back, I think it's going to be his back. Because
but more the condition.
Well, if he's in this condition, yes, but I don't think he's going to be in this condition. I have a feeling Patrick's going to figure it out.
Yeah, Patrick for sure knows his work. That's no doubt.
Right. But the back, it's like you said, we were talking about earlier, you know, you got great rhomboids, great traps. You know, Terry's is good, but then it kind of drops off there. And then especially when you compare it to that lower body, you know?
How much of that holds up with the harder they dig him down, you know, for that condition? Like how much back, how much of whatever he has put on in terms of that back depth, how much of it stays in getting that crisp condition from the back?
He's certainly a species, a specimen, not species. He's a specimen. If
he's crazy good. The potential is very high.
I know what you're saying, Ben, because you're only, you know, we've talked about that many times on the podcast. You're only as good as your weakest body part. So the weaker the body part, the more it's going to disappear. Like, especially when you're trying to dig somebody down that's never been in shape, and then you're trying to get him to that really crisp, you know, shredded look, and then you're like, okay, we lost some lat, you know. So we'll see. But Stefan, since you're here, we're going to press you on your predictions.
Oh, cool.
So this is the Arnold list right here. These are all the guys. And this is your top 10. So I'm going to ask you to place your top 10. And here are just some other guys.
Where's the list?
If I'm last, it's okay, Stefan.
Well, these are the guys here, right?
Yeah. Go down there, and then I still see it, I think. Yeah, I still see it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Samson?
Okay. You don't think Derek can bring it back? I mean, not that I do. I think everybody has Samson in first, but just curious. Okay. Go ahead.
Derek?
Are you coaching anybody in the Open for this?
I have no idea.
Oh, you got James.
Yeah, for sure. James and William.
That's why I said if I'm
and William too. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, make it Yeah, okay. James,
James. Okay.
Andrew,
Andrew.
William,
Okay.
Sean,
Sean. Okay.
Carlos,
Carlos.
Brandon,
Brandon. You think Sean's going to beat Brandon?
yes.
You're going to lose this thing for sure.
I even think about Sean. Sean and William will be a tough battle.
Okay, go on. Two more.
Then we have Akeem and Patrick. No, we have more.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't. We just do top 10.
Yeah, we're just doing top 10.
Akeem and Patrick.
Akeem and Patrick. Okay.
Oh, I don't see Patrick placing above John De La Rosa.
Well, too late. It's locked in now.
Let me see the others.
Okay, these are mine and Mike's. I don't know if you know Mike. Mike Van Wyck. You probably know Mike Van Wyck. And then Ian and James are down here. Ian had Samson, Derek, Andrew, Brandon, Carlos, William, James, Akeem, John, Sean, and Sean was 10th. I had Samson, Derek, Andrew, James, Carlos, Brandon, William, Akeem, John, Sean, and 10th. And then James here, Samson, Andrew, Derek, William, James, Akeem, John, Brandon. I don't know if I agree with this one either. And then we had Paul, who's also a judge, Samson, Derek, Andrew, Carlos, Brandon, James, John, William, Akeem, and Sean. These are pretty good picks, I think. Ben was here. It's Samson, Derek, Andrew, Carlos, James, John, William, Brandon, Akeem. I think Ben shit the bed on this.
Brett and Martin already? Show me. They did there?
No, they didn't do theirs yet. They didn't do theirs yet. Samson did his. Samson, Andrew, Derek, William, Brandon, James, Sean, Akeem, John, and Carl. These are pretty good picks too, except Carlos could be a dark horse.
Yeah, he's more the same than me. He's just don't believe in James, and he has Brandon more in front.
Yeah, but yours throws me off because I don't see Patrick in 10th. I don't see Sean.
You think that Justin Rodriguez is better?
No, I think John De La Rosa is better. Number 2, I don't see Sean beating Brandon Curry.
I see it.
And Brandon and also Brandon just beat William at the Olympia. So
no, you didn't. What? No
yes,
way.
Yes, he
no,
did.
what are you talking? No way.
I love how emphatic
Went
you
8th
are.
for 9th.
No way.
Wasn't Brandon 8th and William 9th? Or
No.
7th and 8th?
No, 7 was William.
I gotta check this. I don't believe you.
Yeah, check it. I know it.
2020.
Exactly. You should know it.
I love how
I
fucking
hope.
It was Andrew and William. And
tw-
it was close with Andrew and William.
this only has the top 6 here. Fuck.
Yeah, and Andrew was 6, right?
Andrew is 5th.
No, you think Hunter was sick.
Yeah.
Hunter was 6. Yeah.
Let me see here.
Andrew should have been sick.
Does anybody else have it? Okay, wait. What do I have here? Miss Olympia.
Not in James's eyes. James had him second.
Fuck, this has only got the
He
top
didn't
5.
bring it. He could have been higher. He didn't bring it.
NPC News
Just
Online
go to
said-
that NPC.
Yeah, that's got to have it. Okay, let's see. 2024. Mr. Olympia. Samson, William. Oh, you're right. William was 7th.
Yeah.
I didn't say you were wrong. It's such a child.
William had a really good year, man. Like, fuck, that's
William was 7th and Brandon was 9th.
Yes.
All right. Well, I still don't see Sean beating Brandon.
Easy. You haven't seen him in
Easy.
Prague.
Easy.
Easy.
Easy. Holy fuck. You're talking about a former Mr. Olympia. All right. Are we going to
Yeah, I'm talking about the two-time
Listen,
to 12 Olympiad.
Okay, Stefan, all I have to say
Was
is
still
you talk a big game, but the last two bets we made, you lost both of them to me.
my wife forbid me to. She even said it before that podcast. Don't do stupid things again with him.
I was just going to try and get you to do one. So for those people who don't know, Stefan bet me the first time James did the Arnold, and I bet him that James would be in the top 5, and Stefan said he wouldn't. And James was nice enough to forgive him and work with him now. But he lost that bet. He had to grow his hair out for what, 3 months?
It was
time?
3 months. Yeah, it was 3 months.
He looked like a serial killer. It was great. And then the second bet was he thought Andrew was going to be in the top 3 at the Olympia.
Yeah. What? Well, no. It was totally different.
It was. Yeah, it
was. You are not good in remembering things.
I
really.
am great in remembering.
No. The idea was, so let's point it out. It was the day or 2 days before after Texas.
Yeah, you said he was going to be top 3.
Wait, no. Everybody had the impression that he was good. Nobody has seen anything of Samson except perhaps Fouad. He says he didn't see something. I know he saw something.
I swear to God, I did.
He asked me the question, is Andrew beating Samson? And I said, yeah, I think after Texas, he can beat Samson. That was the bet, and then he said, "Okay, we are." That was the bet. If Andrew beats Samson, then was France and Samson won, and I wrote you immediately a message.
You did write me a message.
I think Samson can win the Mr. Olympia, but the bet was under false circumstances. Held back information. You lead me into the false thinking of. Yeah,
insider trading, inside information.
Listen, James and Ben, I'm going to tell you something. You can choose to believe me or not. Okay, he's misremembering. That's how the bet started, and then we kept talking about it, and it ended up being, okay, let's just say, is Andrew going to be top 3 or not? And he said he would, and I said he wouldn't, and that's where the bet landed. We started with Samson Andrew, but the bet finished. Would Andrew be top 3 or not? And it was an over-under bet. That's where we finished. Now, the second thing is, you guys don't know this, but Samson doesn't send me update photos anymore. For the last 2 years, he sent me one fucking photo this past Olympia, and it was like a week out. So I had no inside information. Yeah. So we had already made the bet way before that. So anything I saw online was the same thing you saw online. Okay, let's bet. This is you want to get back at me? We can bet on this Arnold.
I think it's Ben's turn.
Why you got to drag me down?
You know what though?
I mean, he's.
You know what though? To be honest, you looked good with a mustache.
Yeah, it was quite okay. Even my wife liked it afterwards.
Yeah, you like that bet didn't really help me. It helped you.
Made him more attractive.
Let's see if we can find the mustache, Stefan. There it is.
Yeah.
Let's look at this mustache. Wow, that looks great on you.
Rocking that.
All right.
The big one.
Okay.
No, here with the picture with Martin, it looked quite incredible.
Where?
The next picture.
Oh, this one. Yeah, there you go. Look, that suits you.
But I was banned from schools in a circumstance of one.
Go deep and close.
So I got a question for you, Stefan, that we've been talking about a lot on the podcast, and other people have been talking about the podcast. I want to ask you directly. Yeah. How the fuck are you going to coach the entire IFBB and not fuck somebody up?
It's actually one of the points is I have less customers than I had the years before.
Yeah,
so
but now
it's less work. The amount of work has nothing to do with if I fuck somebody up or not.
Yeah.
The fact if somebody gets fucked up is just because I did a mistake, and people could do mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But it has nothing to do with the amount of work I had, because the person Stefan Kienzl just works when he has to work, because it has been my whole life like that. I need the pressure. I need the versatility of different people. I need the challenge. That's where I come to my best.
Okay, let me ask you this. So what's the most amount of clients you've ever had?
A lot.
100? 200? 150? Approximately? Do you have a ballpark number you can give me?
More than 200.
More than 200. Okay.
Deal
So
with that.
you obviously have probably less than that now. I'm not going to guess,
Yes.
but okay, you have less than that now. But does it matter that they're of much higher caliber? Like there's a lot more
It makes it
riding.
easy. It makes it easier.
Well,
Do
it
what
might.
do what they're told.
On paper.
I talk. No, really, I talk with at least the amount of people I talk with who are knowing what it is about is much higher than years before.
Right.
Much higher. And I eliminate people who don't understand that.
Okay.
So that's just the point. The requests I get, I have to eliminate, I would say at least 70% of that, because it's not my idea of working. And as always, as you know, in the discussions, I'm quite strict in how I do things, how I think things should be done. And I know that for that I can give quality work, it's very, very important to assess that,
Right.
you know?
Right. Does it matter that the pressure is greater because the livelihoods are on the line?
Yeah, I think that makes me better. It's
Okay.
nothing which keeps me sleeping good,
Yeah.
but you know, my whole life I was born and raised up and just used to pressure. That's something I need to work. I need to get into it and feel the tension and suck that energy up and use it.
Yeah.
But I think the most trickiest thing is not the Olympia. The most trickiest thing is it's to do the. So actually, I need to start different. For me, I would never say to an athlete, you need to do that show and not that.
Okay.
Because it's in the free choice of the athlete, and he must stand in the center. And when he wants to do a show, he should do the show and not that show. But when
like
they
that.
ask me which show they do, then for me it's the hardest task to do the strategic right decision.
Right.
So the first principle is I let them choose which shows they want to do.
Sure.
But if they ask me what show should I do, that's the hardest part of coaching for me.
Right. That's the part, if I can interject for a second, that's the part I don't like. I've actually seen athletes say, I want to do this or that show, and then heard them also say, my coach told me not to. And I find it strange at this point in bodybuilding that we've come to, that athletes give their coaches that much power over their year.
Right.
I can't do that. The athlete needs to do the decision. It's his life, it's his career. He needs to do the decision. If he asks me for my advice, opinion, I will point it out strategically and transparent as I would always do it. But that's the thing I hate most.
Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
I feel like my input is more warranted or valuable the less experienced the athlete is. So if they're an amateur and they're going through the ranks that way, then there's a little bit more input. But if I'm talking to somebody that's more seasoned and on a pro level, that's up to, a more open to it.
So I agree with that. And I also agree that a coach should have input because he's a coach and he's, you guys are kind of working together. But when I see a coach tell an athlete, not advise. Tell an athlete, don't do that show. It's not good for you. And the athlete does want to do the show, but they take the coach. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying is we've come to a point now where some athletes have given up so much control to their coach that the coach is deciding when they do and don't get off stage. And I feel like it's just a really strange thing. I mean, maybe it's just Maybe it's just the way it is now, and I don't understand it because I wasn't like that. But I feel like it's a weird thing to give up that much control to your coach.
The only thing I do mostly is I'll be like, we could probably look at shows in this time of year for
Yeah.
where you're at right now. If we're going through a health phase, or we'll basically put, let's aim at the end of the year or like in the September, October, November time. Have a look at what shows are there for you, which one suits you, etc.
Just an example. Originally for Sean, we planned to have a longer off season,
Right.
and really to focus on that to 12 Olympia. But then in December, Sean wrote me, "Hey, Stefan, from the Arnold, they called me and they asked if I can do the show." And I knew I forgot Sean before. I have Sean also for sure.
No, that's right. Sorry.
So I knew James is doing it. I knew William is doing it. So for me, it's no problem. I said, I think business-wise, I think for you as a brand, Sean, Clarita, going to be the giant killer, it's a wise decision just to do it. And if your heart leads you to it, we will find a way to get the best out of the Arnold and to get the best out of the Olympia. Because actually that's my job. I need to find solutions for the problems or for the schedule or for whatever the athlete wants.
Right.
So I'm the guy who needs to serve,
Yeah. It's an interesting point, right? Say you're in another team sport and you're like, well, we have games scheduled like here, and here, but this is the big game. You don't just avoid those other games because you've got the Olympia, you're a competitor and you compete.
Listen, I totally agree with what you said earlier about like, hey, you know what? If you want to win a show, if you want to be your best, let's aim for like the fall or let's aim for the summer or whatever. Like you're advising as a coach. But if the athlete comes to you and says, you know what? I know you're probably right, but I really got a fucking itch to get on stage. And this show looks like it might be a good one for me. I feel like it's wrong for a coach to say, no, you shouldn't do it. I'm not going to help you do it. I'm not going to help you with that show because I don't agree with that. Because the thing is, the coach is more worried about themselves. Because the coach, this is a real scenario I'm talking about. This isn't one I'm just making up. The coach is more concerned that the athlete won't look their best and it's going to look bad on them coaching. And I'm like, and I'm kind of in the camp of what Stefan said, which is like, hey, it's your job. He's paying you for a service. It's your job to make sure he looks good.
But aren't we in this weird?
The best he can, And actually, about the reviews of the internet, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
Are we not in this like weird era now where coaching is, or the coach gets more praise than the athlete in some instances?
In some instances, yeah, I do see that, and I think it's really refreshing to me when you or Stefan or some other coaches I've seen step out of the limelight, and they're like, yes, I advised him, I helped him choose his food and his gear, but that's the guy that did the fucking work.
I said it's very easy for me to sit in my recliner, do more cardio, eat less. I'm fucking pat myself on the back.
Add an extra 20 minutes. Yeah.
I think for me personally, it depends on where the person is as an athlete, like mentally.
What do you mean, James?
So for example, I know that when I worked with Patrick, he was a really good person to me in regards to like brought me out of a time that was difficult.
Right.
So defeats that were managed to be conquered were like more sentimental to me, so I do feel like it was 50-50. And even now, like we've been with Stefan, it's come at a time where I kind of feel similar. And I know that if anything goes well this year, whatever that may be, I will feel extreme gratitude. Yeah, so because like I said to you, I find it hard to find the right coach because I do feel that way. I am very emotional and personal. Right. So the reason things don't work out with me certain coaches is if I don't have that connection. So a guy that doesn't have that much emotion and connection, I think it's a lot easier to just not feel like it's 50-50.
Right.
Because if you're just following orders and that's it. Whereas I know that I could message Stefan and talk about anything. Yeah. And it might not even be bodybuilding, but he'll help listen to me about other shit. That's a contributing factor to my success. But James, so for me, it's like, I like that.
But it's the difference. It's the difference when the athlete gives the coach praise.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Versus when the coach is out there taking it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you do a post and you're like, I want to give 50% of whatever I did to Stefan. Like Samson does that with Mel.
Yeah.
Samson's constantly talking about Mel and her coaching and how much it meant to him and how much it helped him. And, but that's his prerogative. But you don't see Mel out there online going, it's 50% because of me.
Well, for sure. And that's what good human morals should be like.
Right.
Never expect, but because I never expect anything in return ever.
Mm.
But when someone does go out their way and says thanks, it goes a long
you
way,
thank
and
them.
it should be the same.
Right.
So I
But
would always, me personally, I'd always make it apparent. Like if I've done well, they just know they're gonna hear about it.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, to take it and be like, yeah, like of course, like I would feel very bad if I basically said yes, because some people get shitty and they're like, yes, because of me.
I wonder though, I wonder, like, you know, the public sometimes puts a lot of the blame on coaches, or like coaches seem to be in the forefront of like
Mhm.
social media now just as much as the athlete.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm wondering if that's warranted. Like, should a coach be as to blame as the athlete or as rewarded as the athlete? Is it equal?
I think there is the chance that they just do wrong decisions. As we said before, the main job of a coach is to do decisions. That's also a thing which doesn't need time. It just needs a clear vision. It needs a clear perspective and the guts to decide a thing. And decisions can be wrong. And when you do wrong decisions, it's your fault because you do wrong decision and you are responsible for it. But I also think that it is human and that it is in kind of nature that some of the decisions you do are just wrong. You know, it's an illusion to always do the right decisions. How can that? If you are a good coach or not is the question. Do you learn from the wrong decision, and do you know why the decision is wrong?
Right.
That you can do it right the next time. So that's one of the factors. One of the second factors is there are things you can't control. And the outcome on stage can very, very often just be in the atmosphere of things you can control. The athlete could have got sick. The athlete could have got an injury. The athlete could have got an intolerance. The athlete could have had so much stress and mental struggles. There are so many things you can't control totally, and then it's no fault of everyone.
Right.
And then there can be things where the athlete makes the mistakes. If he's not sticking to the plan, if he's lying on his coach, all that thing. So it's part of together the atmosphere. There can be wrong decisions from the coach, there can be wrong executions from the athlete, but there can also be a lot of things, and they are most of the time responsible for if something doesn't go right in the high level of competitive bodybuilding, which you can't just control.
Right. I guess what I'm saying though, and I kind of want to finish with this point because I want to do a couple questions before we go, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't remember a time in bodybuilding up until the last couple of years where coaches were as prominently featured as the athletes. They're almost...
Well, when you put two coaches on a fucking podcast, then what do you expect?
No, listen, putting coaches on a podcast is a good thing because you can teach.
I'm joking.
Right? You do it so you can teach the audience. What I'm saying is, in social media world, like Hani, for example, is seen as a 24 or 5 or 6, however many Olympias he has, 26-time Olympia winner. And yes, he should get that credit because he was the coach of those Olympians. But we live in a time where the coaches are almost on par with the athlete. And I don't remember that ever happening before. And
I feel like because Hani owns a supplement company, that was kind of his image. He kind of built a brand on that.
Listen, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I don't want anybody to
No, for sure. But I think he capitalized it also. I think he was smart enough to make that the way that he would be earn his spot in bodybuilding.
But I mean, I'll use a different example. Take Matt Jansen, right?
Yeah.
There's Matt Jansen, Nick Walker.
Yeah.
They're seen as equal pair and equally at fault for whatever is going on. And I'm like, and I don't remember that ever being the case. In previous years, the coach is kind of a small extension of the athlete.
Of the athlete, yeah, I hear that.
So, but there are times, and I agree. I think the current climate is strange to me. But there are times where you'll take a very talented athlete that, and like we said, maybe Kieran's an example of this, right?
Yeah,
where you take a super talented athlete and then you pair him with the correct coach, and the synergy that they become and the respect that goes both ways. Like, say you had an athlete that wasn't adhering to everything, right? And now you put him with a coach that we've spoken about. You put him on a pedestal. You're now looking to please him. You're not looking just to please the judge. I spoke on this. Like when I was working with Patrick, I didn't care what the judges thought. I only cared what Patrick
Right.
on the day. Like, so I was constantly in this, like, it was holding me to a higher standard. So sometimes that comes from a different synergy that you get with a certain coach
Right.
versus, and at that point, I think it is, I don't want to say equal, but the coach, that relationship allows that athlete to start realizing their potential, which you wouldn't have had.
I'm in no way, shape, or form taking away. I've had coaches my entire career.
Sure.
I understand the value of a coach. I understand the importance of a coach. The social media emphasis on a coach is where I'm a little bit.
I think that's just.
I think that's just hand in hand. That's just hand in hand.
Social media is shit at all.
one at a time. Everybody just went. I'd say.
I know. Sorry,
James. What are you going to say?
It just came with the influx of social media, didn't it? It just did. Like, social media just gave more presence to everybody.
Yeah, I guess.
And then that includes obviously coaches, because coaches have their own profiles. You can now watch the coach, see what they're about, obviously, which is a great thing for business. But it also gave eyes to everybody. Just like we see shit every day we don't like to see. There's shit coaches. There's good coaches. We just see more.
Right. You see the shit and the good, whereas beforehand you'd only see the good.
We kind of only saw people do well. And then if we were interested in their coach, we'd ask the person. Like, you know, back in the day, like, you'd see a Cito had done a prep or something for somebody, and you'd be like, oh, okay, you know what? I might try and get Cito's email and email him.
Right.
It's a very different time, wasn't it?
Right. Okay.
You know?
Let's do a few questions before we go. Stefan, give you one. The first question is, do you think gymnastics is very difficult?
Yeah, I do.
Thoughts on BPC 157 and other compounds like it?
The point is just very, very easy. If you have problems with your joints, erase the problem you have while you got the problems with the joints. So PBC, for example, won't solve a joint problem. It's like a plaster you put on a wound that it heals faster.
Oh, so you're saying find the root of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what I want to ask is, like, I've heard it's good for healing tendonitis,
digestion a little bit,
or maybe tear.
But you got the tendonitis because of a reason. And in bodybuilding, modern bodybuilding, you just take them PBC and it's a little bit better. But the problem isn't solved, and you have it forever. So PBC is never a solution, and the people need to think differently.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm asking is, do you think somebody can use it on their way to changing their...
Yes, they can. They can. But it doesn't have that miracle healing purpose than people think.
Right.
And I think the problem on that substances is that they're coming out of companies who never knows what they do.
Yeah. They're underground, and you can't... The validity of it is always in question. What does Andrew have to do to get to top comparison with Samson?
More hamstrings, better condition.
He's already been in a top comparison with Samson. I mean, they both in the first call out. I think he's saying, what does he have to do to compare more favorably to him?
I think most of all better posing.
Yeah, his posing is... I always wondered that. Why...
You know, he's doing his split, and then people think he's a good poser. But his comparison poses, lat spread, kind of his side chest, he could do it so much better.
To me, it's not necessarily, well, the side chest needs a lot of work, but like the front lat spread, for example, is a good pose. To me, the problem I have when I watch him is it's very slow and like lazy posing.
No energy on stage.
Yeah, and it really, like, you take something away from that. It's almost like he doesn't care, or which I know is not true, but like just the feeling you get.
I hear that.
So I don't know if that matters.
I think that's the most important thing for him. And then a little bit of condition, and as James said, a little bit of hamstring. But actually, I see his body as really good and really balanced. And I still think he can be absolutely top Olympian contender when he's able to fix that problems. But you know, in the end, bodybuilding is a presentation sport, and the magic you create on stage will always have a big impact on the people who judge you. Yeah. And there is the question if he ever can have that.
The one time I saw him really make a good impact, and I feel like he displayed himself probably his best, was the Arnold 2023.
Yeah, he was a little too...
I think he was confident because he was in shape. So I think
Well,
he
yeah.
presented himself better because he knew no matter how he kind of stood,
He was-
it was.
You know, it's
He
funny.
was good in Texas this last year. I was there, and his energy. Like every time I've seen him do Texas, I've seen all three of them because he's been the star of the show.
He
His
feels good about it.
energy, his confidence has been like sky high. He's walked out, he like struts out. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's.
Then the Olympia's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but then you got to ask yourself, is it the chicken or the egg? Because it's like, well, if you're walking out with low confidence, then you're not gonna, they're gonna, right?
But
that's peaking, isn't it? That's peaking. If you've peaked well,
he's very confident orientated. Like if he knows his body, he knows when he's in a good spot. And when
we
he's
all
not.
do. Yeah, when you're in shape, you know it.
Dude,
But he cannot hide it.
Yeah.
So most of us can't, but he really cannot hide it.
I know that feeling. There's been probably 2 shows in my life where I'm nailed on.
Yeah.
So whatever I do now, wherever I stand, whatever direction I face,
doesn't
I'm going to
matter.
be the best at all my angles that I can be possibly in this moment. Therefore, my presentation will be better.
Same for me.
Because of that.
That's the same for me, James. 2 shows
Because
you just know you're like.
Because of that, did you not care as much, but there wasn't as much anxiety about where you were going to place?
For sure.
Knew you were maximized, right?
I had no fear of any of my shots looking bad because I was like, I knew I was in my best condition from all possible angles. And actually, one of the shows I felt like that was the 2019 Big Man weekend. I got third to Josh and Akeem. I was a little bit small, but I beat a lot of good people. Rafa, SM Obeid, like really good people. And I was just in a good level of condition there where I just felt really good in my body. And I posed very confidently because of it. That's always a nice thing.
I think this is one aspect, but I still think Stefan's right. There are some poses he has that just need to be corrected.
Oh yeah.
So it's a combination of the two. And I think, but the nice thing about that is,
it's easy fix.
It's not like you're saying, hey, you got to build a whole new body part. It's like, hey, we can tweak a few things and you can look totally different. So
we've even discussed that myself and Stefan, and that's something I want to do with my posing, just tweak it a little bit,
Wow, that's a really deep one. Is there anyone in your life you have beef with that if they died tomorrow you would wish you spoke to them sooner?
No, sometimes mine's the other way around. Sometimes there's some people I just wish did die and I just fuck off. No, honestly, there is some people that I'm just like tomorrow. Like I hate sound like an arsehole, but there is some people that the world would be better off without.
We need names, James.
I can think of 1 or 2 of those.
No names, but there are some people like that, and that is what it is. We can't like everybody. Stefan knows how I feel.
All right, we'll leave that one there. What's your best moment of 2024?
Oh, that's
who wants to
in bodybuilding.
No,
getting the smile of my wife's back.
That's good. What was the
getting the smile of my wife back. We had a tough year in the beginning, and
okay.
It was so seeing her back, that most beautiful, wonderful smile for me. Getting that back was the moment I'm always thankful for.
That's good because that carries some weight as well. That's not just like some shallow. That's a big thing.
It has to be deep for James for him to care. So mine's gonna sound like shit. Mine's gonna sound like shit now. So James, yours has to be getting Yannicka pregnant.
It might not be, mate.
Okay, what is it?
No, I don't know. To be fair, I should say that, shouldn't I? Because it'll keep her happy. Yannicka,
you're like,
it's kind of a bit of both. It's almost like knowing doing it is part of it, but it's also like I feel quite proud of myself for actually fucking hell, it does work.
Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling. I don't know that feeling, so
that's what I'm.
That's what.
But I moved house this year. I bought a new house. That's a big thing.
There's a lot of big moments for you, man. Wait, the gym was last year, right?
No, January this year. That was this year as well.
Yeah, you get the gym, the fucking house, a baby.
You got quite a lot to be fair.
Fifth at the Arnold.
The Arnold.
Fifth at the Arnold. But it's
a whole package.
Yeah, and you know what? Still, I did a post over there. I still feel like I haven't done what I want to do, and because I am a bodybuilder through and through.
James,
we're all bodybuilders here, and we're never satisfied unless we get the result in bodybuilding.
Can I pretend? No, it's not. It's okay.
That to me. That's that to me.
I'm gonna impart some. I am 10 years older than you, so I'm gonna impart some wisdom from my old age.
Tell me, old man.
That will never go away.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
You or me?
It would just.
I don't know. How old are you?
I'm born 81.
I'm born 78.
Oh.
He's the old fuck.
So it's basically, I wouldn't call that imposter syndrome, but always wanting more is just part of being an ambitious person. And it doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
bodybuilding or if it's your
It
gym
all,
or
it,
if it's a different entrepreneurial thing you get into.
I do notice though. I do notice when I win a show in a year, my year does feel better. There
Oh,
is
yeah,
something
yeah,
about.
yeah. No, no. James,
Yeah, I've
James,
got this thing where I just.
okay, wait. No, but listen, you'll go like this, right?
Yeah.
But then you'll win and then you'll ride that for a bit and then it'll start to go like this. And you're like, what's
Yeah,
next?
for sure. But it does
What's
last me
next?
because I will say, because we've all been involved in it for so long, it is such a major part of who we are.
Yeah.
And we have, all of us have based a level of our value
Yeah.
without, we know we shouldn't, but we do base a level of our value off of our achievements in bodybuilding. So whenever
Yeah.
I've won a show, I do look like that entire year was a successful year.
I agree.
Even if I don't
Okay.
do well at the Olympia, it's fine. But if I get to the fucking Olympia, I'm like, that was a good year.
Okay, but hear me out. So I do what you do, but now I do it because I'm not a bodybuilder
You
anymore.
do it businesses now.
I do it outside of bodybuilding. So what I'm trying to say to you is,
It won't change.
yeah, you're just gonna be this person forever. That's like,
Chasing.
yeah. And it's like you
Well-
learn, like I've learned to be happier. Like when I was bodybuilding, it was all a blur. I was like, where's the next show? How can I be better? Blah, blah. And then you learn to be a little different. But that, I don't know if that shit ever goes away, man.
the
For
worst
me,
bit
one of the biggest struggles actually is I call that Falco syndrome. Falco was an Austrian pop artist
Yeah.
who was the first German-speaking guy who got the #1 in the States
Okay.
with Rock Me Amadeus. Maybe you
I remember
you
that
know-
song. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that song.
It's annoying
And
as fuck, that song.
And at the moment they told him that he has the #1.
Yeah.
He sniffed all the cocaine he had, drank all the alcohol he had, destroyed his own flat, got
Yeah.
super depressed.
Yep.
And then they asked him, what is your problem?
Right.
And he said, I have no idea how that should get better. It just can't go downwards anymore. And that's actually one thing I struggle most, especially in my success times, that I'm super, super, super afraid what the future will bring.
Yeah.
Well, they tell you
can't get back.
learning to deal with failure is just as important as learning to deal with success. Because
as hard to believe.
learning to deal with major success is very hard because at first you're like, you feel like you don't deserve it. You feel like it's not real. You feel like it could come crashing down on you. There's so many things that come. People think success is easy, and it is in some aspects, but in others, you're like, it comes with its own pressure.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's also, it depends if you look at like, sometimes you can look at life from, oh, I've got all this ahead of me. But then other times you're like, I've only got this left in front of me.
yeah,
Because I do that a lot. I do this thing where I'm like,
I've done everything.
well, and I'm always like, yeah, I don't get to a certain age and a certain feeling, and you're like, you feel like you're on the second half of the clock,
Yeah.
where you're counting down now, not counting up.
Yeah.
James, let me tell you, that feeling got worse when we had Phoenix.
Oh, shit.
Fucking way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Because
know,
and I go jealous of his youth at times. I'm like, fuck, man, if I could
Yeah.
just go back.
and I know, Ben, if you also have that feeling, that comes with being in the second half of the life. So I call it my personal midlife crisis. It's not about the things I still want to do or the things I missed. It's all about the things I fucked up.
Yeah.
I just think
Fixing.
you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
fucked
should have
up
turned
so
left
many,
instead of turned
so many times in life, and that's not about business success. That's now about relationship things,
Everything.
how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
behave,
yeah.
and that stuff. I just think, oh fuck, okay, the half of the life for sure is gone.
Yeah.
You fucked up most of the time of the half life because you're just a fucking asshole idiot guy,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And then you think, okay, you just have a little bit of time. What if I die in the next month or in the next 10 years or 1 year or whatever, and you fucked it all up? And that's what, that's
That's a
one
real-
of the
that's a-
most toughest things for me.
That's a real fucking feeling, man. Because I know, like, I had a bad reputation coming up when I first turned pro. I was a fucking asshole to everybody, and I wasn't very.
Well, now it's good.
Ben. I knew I said it. I knew I was setting you up. I knew I was setting you up for that. But somewhere around 34, 35, I was like, I think it was actually when I met John. John was the one who was the catalyst to me being like, oh, like that's the proper way to live. So, and then it's the same thing you're talking about, Stefan. You're like, you think to yourself, you're like, okay, well, I fucked all that up. So how long is it going to take me to correct and make up for it? So yeah, no, I know that's a real thing. So yeah, there's no happiness anywhere, James. It's just work.
It's all just work. Fucking away.
There's a lot of work with little bouts of happiness sprinkled in there.
My happiness is a very simple one. It's literally me just
I'm
connecting.
joking.
Yeah. This cupboard in front of me, like I said to you, that's my little happiness cabinet.
Yeah, but it's gonna get confusing for you now because it's like a dog that chases one car, right? He knows that's the car he's got to chase.
Yep.
Now you're gonna get another car come in. You're gonna be like, "Whoa, hang on a second, which one do I?"
Well, the problem for me, James, was I was chasing that one car and then the car fucking stopped. And I ran by it and I had nothing to chase. And I was like, and then I got depressed for 2 years and I started taking, and I had to get on fucking medication because it's all I knew.
Yeah. There is something you have to somehow find something else also during this, don't you?
All I knew for 20 years was bodybuilding.
Yep.
That's all I fucking, nothing else.
That's what I mean. I that's why I say to it, like, there's such heavy importance on it.
Right. But I think the fact that you're having a child, and I don't want to, I don't know, but because I don't have my own kids, but I'm assuming that having your own child will give you new purpose, obviously, so you won't go through what I went through. Yeah. Because when bodybuilding was done, I was like, what the fuck is my life about?
Yeah.
Right. If I had a child, then I might have been able to sink my focus into that. Right. So I don't know. It's like, it's weird. There's a lot of,
this is the thing with life, isn't it? Everyone, so many people have walked through it and are further ahead or even a little bit behind, but no one walks the same path. Exactly. So no matter how much we discuss this, our experiences will vary. And that's the whole point of having these conversations and being friends.
Right.
Because there'll be times where we can relate to each other and there'll be times where we can't. Yeah. But that's just as good to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But James, it's like the text I sent you the other day, right? And it was based on this whole conversation right now. And it's like, the way I look at it is like, sometimes I see a lot of, or hear you say like that doubt, right? That should I, shouldn't I? Sometimes. And then it evolves for me, and what I think or what I hope for you is it becomes it's less of should I or shouldn't I. Now I must. Like now it all just makes sense. This is what I'm doing because I've got something bigger than just myself to worry about.
Absolutely. And I do look forward to a time after my competitive bodybuilding where I can really nurture that part of me, for sure. But in the meantime.
No, but what I mean is,
but I mean in me,
your bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, no, my bodybuilding, yeah. But I mean, I'm actually even more excited as well about after I'm competitive and I can really spend time and energy, and be fully committed to something a little bit different. But again, like I said, I think I got in my mind, I've got like 2 years now where I'm really keen on, because my amateur career was 9 years to 10 years roughly. And I'm like, my pro career, I turned pro 8 years ago. If I can get another 2 years out of this and do well, that's a good run.
That's what I did.
I've got high ambitions.
I did 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I achieved the level I wanted to, but I'm proud of my career. But I did 10 years.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that's a healthy length for a pro career.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to go longer, but your body really determines when it's time. You know what I mean? Okay, before we go, really quickly, James is always in his underwear.
It's hot in Britain. He needs to shoot fast,
Does your new house have air conditioning or no?
Stop checking me out, bro.
Not that it's hot there, but I'm just curious.
I just always sit in pants.
No, I know, but I know a lot of homes in Britain don't have.
We don't have air conditioning. No, I've got a window that I open there, and that's about it. But Yannick is hoovering, so I closed the door.
Oh, okay.
It's like making noise, love.
Is that what you call it, hoovering? You don't call it vacuuming?
No, hoovering.
You want to know how it's called in German? It's a very good word.
What?
Staubsaugen.
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 Staubsaugen. I got it.
Staubsaugen.
That's so
we
much harder.
call it Hoover because the brand Hoover.
When I think of Hoover, I think of blowjobs.
What do you call it?
It would be funny. It would be funny if James just closes the door when she's hoovering.
If I just poke the ornament through the door.
It's like a glory hole, yeah. Like a glory hole. That's exactly it.
We can arrange that.
Okay, before we go, New Year's resolutions. Anybody have anything, or just don't give a fuck?
Don't give
man.
a fuck.
No,
Don't
just
give a
keep
fuck.
slam-
James, don't give a fuck. Ben, don't give a fuck. You guys
I need to
suck.
stay up for
You
it.
guys
Today
suck.
was another day. Next day.
You guys suck.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for a new year to be a fucking that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Come on.
Why are you guys so hardcore? You're too hardcore to say like, you know what? James got to be the hardcore guy. That's another fucking day. Who cares? Fuck that.
And
Putting on
you
Christmas
Fouad,
Day.
getting into gymnastics?
I'm gonna start gymnastics tomorrow. I already booked my class.
You have the skills.
I'm waiting to see this. I think
No,
you'll be
my
there.
New Year's resolution is to ride my motorcycle across America. That's my New Year's
But is that a resolution?
Resolution.
Is that a
Well, it's a
resolution?
goal.
Trip you want to do.
Okay, well, it's
That's
a
like
goal.
goodness,
It's a
dude.
goal for
Resolution is
2025.
like
You
change.
know,
Normally, you
Ben,
having to
you know,
change a
Ben?
habit.
Okay,
He's relying all the
everybody's
work
gonna
on you, and he goes with his motorcycle through the.
Let me know how you're getting on.
Um.
I love that.
Okay.
My
Well,
resolution.
what's a resolution? Something you're gonna change?
Yeah, like a habit. Like you need to like install
The
a good
bad
habit.
habit
Or,
you-
I'm
Try
gonna
to
stop.
erase.
I'm not gonna eat pizza this year. I'm gonna.
All right. I'm gonna only order from Uber Eats once a month.
That's a good resolution.
That's
And then DoorDash on the other days.
Yeah, the other days.
Skip the
Use
dishes.
every other app.
There's lots of companies you can spread it around.
No,
I
the
need
other days I'll get in my car and I'll go get it. That's my yeah.
I need to stop buying gaming consoles because I'm on internet every day buying something new and it's just stupid.
Are
That's
you
why.
in one of those bodybuilding phases where you're just buying things?
Oh, every prep. I'm literally got this screen open now with loads of stuff on.
That's the most expensive part of prep is that fucking OCD brain that just starts buying
shit.
useless shit. Yeah.
Every time.
I actually do have it's a resolution, but I put it in place like after Christmas, so it's not really. Oh fuck it. My
Counts.
VO2 max is not going to be under 48.
That's such a fucking Ben thing to say.
It's
I don't
like
even know what that
bend- it
means.
is a bending.
Well,
don't-
fucking,
I don't-
you
I don't
asked me.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's my cardiovascular fitness.
So you're gonna
It's
breathe.
be-
Your New Year's resolution is
I
to
know.
breathe better.
I know at 48 I can run a 5K if I had to, and I can still
Why don't you just say I want to run a
hold-
5K?
because I don't want to run a 5K. I'm
I
just
can
saying I have
drive
the
a
ability.
5K.
I did a 5K Spartan, but it sucked. But
No,
if
I can
have
drive
my-
it.
Wait, Stefan, what did you say?
Yeah.
I can drive a 5K.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. All right. Okay, boys. Thanks, Stefan, for coming on. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, man.
James and Ben, love you
Nice
guys.
surprise. You too, man.
I'll see you guys next week, and congratulations, James, again.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Crushed it.
Have you thought of Fouad as the name?
I said if it's brown.
It's much too complicated to write,
Remember.
really.
If it's brown, I'll die laughing. I won't
it's
die.
brown-
I'll feel
if it's
really
brown-
bad.
If it's brown, I will call it Fouad.
I'll feel really bad, but
Or if it comes out, of a beard.
It's brown.
oh my
Fuck.
god, I can't believe you said that. Okay,
It might- Could happen.
all right, guys, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Bye.
See you, everybody. Bye.